Also, I'm totally pushing the idea of Mythos Busters offices. Like, as far as our podcast listeners are concerned, I'm going to be talking about, the office today. Like, oh man, who stole my lunch? It's going to kill. I can feel it already.
All right, well, with that,
let's get this train wreck going.
Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hello and welcome to episode 26 of Mythos Busters, where today we're collectively a bit concussed, so nothing we say actually counts. Kind of cool that it works that way. Tonight we've got almost the full crew. We'll call it the full working crew. With me is Nick.
Hello.
Hi, Nick.
Hi.
I would ask you if you recovered from Arkham Knights yet, but I know you're a douchebag who can survive on like 3 hours of sleep, so you're fine.
I recovered the day that I got back from Arkham Knights, yeah.
God damn it. I'm gonna need like training bras for the bags under my eyes pretty soon. It's getting bad.
I can't wait to see that.
With us tonight as well is Scott. How are you recovered from Arkham Knights? You partied harder than anyone.
I'm recovered from Arkham Knights, but funny story, the day I flew back, the Monday, I was playing with my son at a playground, and I ran into this, like, steel, like, you know, like, playgrounds, right? Like, the things, you go up the stairs, and I didn't see this thing, and I was full tilt running, and just cranked my head.
No, Scott!
And, like, I was, like, on my, like, knees and elbows for, like, 20 seconds, and I was trying to, like, keep myself from falling off the earth. You know when you got the spins real bad? And I actually called my wife, and I'm like, you need to come to the playground. I can't walk. So
you've had a good couple days.
Yeah, I'm good.
Good God.
Yeah.
And of course, rounding out the crew tonight is Ian. Hi, Ian. Are you recovered from your not going to Arkham Knights?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I'm in a non-concussed state, so I can't complain.
All right, well, we've got a fun episode for you tonight. As you may have guessed, we've got our normal community highlights. We've got a bit of news. We're going to talk about the Carcosa scenarios, because, man, there's a lot to say there. And then we're going to round it out with a little bit of tentacle time. Which I suppose it bears mentioning will be led off with our summary of Arkham Knights. It was awesome. It was fun. So stay tuned. Hopefully you'll come next year.
Well, you just gave it away.
Well, you know, just keep them wanting more. Nick, what do we got? What's going on in the community?
What is going on in the community? Let me get to the show notes here real quick. Okay, the two things I wanted to highlight for this episode. One of them is a scenario, which I haven't played. I'm going to preface that. But I have looked at the cards, and I just love the idea, because it's based off of a Lovecraft story that I would think would be particularly difficult to adapt to a scenario. It's The Color Out of Space, and this was developed by Joe Errett. I hope I'm saying that right. Errett. Errett.
You sound, I was about to say you sound like a record scratch right now. Errett.
Joe E. Color Out of Space. So it's a story that I've always enjoyed, and I know that, at least I think that you guys enjoy it too. I think if I remember back to when we talked about the Lovecraft stories that were particularly close to us, this was one that stood out for multiple hosts. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting because this isn't one where the conflict is entirely, well, I don't want to say external, but it's like there's not a whole lot of like baddies in the story, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to see this adapted to a scenario, and without actually playing it, I think that Joe takes an interesting take on it, into adapting that. I would love to get it printed and actually try it out at some point. He does some cool things with the agenda deck that I like, as far as like what's on the reverse side of some agenda cards. So that's really cool. And then he does take some liberties with the story in order to get enemies in there, so that our Guardian players or some Mystic players aren't just walking around sitting on their thumbs, that sort of thing. But it looks like a lot of fun. It looks like one, like I said, it looks interesting enough and different enough from the ones that we normally see that it would definitely be worth checking out.
Yeah, that seems like an interesting one to adapt to this game, because, yeah, like you said, there's really not a whole lot by way of enemies.
Mm-hmm.
So, you've looked at the cards?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, actually.
Okay, so without spoiling anything, like how does the Does it handle enemies? Are they just kind of not there, and the struggle is all with treacheries? Or
no, there are enemies that are present in this. Like I said,
Okay.
Joe takes some liberties with what enemies are in this scenario. Like there's a bear and there's some wolves, because you're kind of dealing with that being out of town and that sort of thing. And then there's some other stuff too that's a little more directly related to the color out of space and how it can manipulate and affect people. So like I said, take some liberties with it, but still I think a very interesting concept and definitely worth checking out.
Excellent.
And then additionally, I wanted to highlight our newest guest article, also by Ian McAllister. He is continuing his Beyond the Veil series, in which he assesses the Dunwich scenarios. This one is for Essex County Express. And I don't think there's much I really need to say about this. I mean, we have an idea of what Ian's writing habits are and what to expect from his articles. So give this one a look and a read through if you have read the previous ones and like those. And then, as always, comment with your thoughts below.
Stay tuned for Tentacle Time when we talk about
Essex.
I think we all have thoughts on Essex.
I was going to say, stay tuned for Tentacle Time. You'll find out why they put Express in the title.
Yeah, that's very true.
Essex County, a go-go. All right. So, moving on. That is all the community stuff, right, Nick?
Correct. And then just once more to remind any would-be writers who want to submit guest articles, go to mythosbusterspodcast.wordpress.com. The pinned article at the top of that page outlines what we look for in our guest articles, and I get those posted as soon as possible. But we could always use more, so...
Always. And I can say personally that I read every article that gets submitted to us after Nick publishes it. So at the very least, you'll have an audience of 2. Guaranteed audience of 2. All right, Ian, some things have happened. What were they?
Yeah, some things. The first big thing was announced in a news article called Your Investigators in Action. And this pretty much caught the whole community by surprise out of nowhere, which was a new set of Arkham Horror novellas. So in the past, they had done some Arkham Horror novels around the time of like the original board game coming out, and they were pushing those back then, but they haven't had any for a while. They announced these new ones that each are going to focus on an investigator, but the big kicker is that each of these novellas is going to feature some new cards for that investigator, whoever's being highlighted, including an alt-art
Those
card,
crafty devils.
but also a new signature asset and a new signature weakness, along with rules for how you deal with either, replacing your old signature stuff or actually playing with all of them at once, all 4 at once. So again, this was like totally out of nowhere, and for my part, I think it's a really cool idea, a new way of bringing kind of some new ways of playing different investigators, and these are cards
You would, Mr. Jenny Superfan.
Yeah, I think the subtitle of this article should have been Ian loses his shit, because I just had a bona fide moment of just like, I couldn't believe that Jenny was the one they started with, and yeah, everything I could have ever wanted.
We live in a world now. We live in a world where Ian has 2 Jennies, and I have nary a Diana.
Sounds fair to me.
World.
But
Sorry, I didn't mean to actually interrupt your point. I know I'm good at it.
So basically these is the first of a series, so there are going to be others, and in the book itself they spoil some of the other titles, so there are going to be 4 more, I believe, for a total of 5. So I don't know if that's like all they have planned, or they're just going to kind of see how the initial 5 go and then decide whether or not to do more, which is probably what makes sense. If they make money off of it, I'm sure they'll do more.
And based off of some leaked information, we can we can strongly guess that the 5 won't necessarily be the 5 Dunwich investigators. They'll probably be spreading it out amongst the different sets of investigators that we've had so far.
Yeah, I did a little sleuthing of my own based on the titles to see if I could figure out who they were going to be about. One of them is called to fight the Black Wind or fighting the Black Wind or something. So I looked up Black Wind, and that's actually one of the avatars of I can never say his name. Nyarlathotep, yeah. So it's one of
got two different pronunciations so you go how you will.
He's basically the ancient one who has like a ton of different forms depending on where he appears and like different names. And so his name in Kenya is the Black Wind. So I'm guessing that might actually be an Akachi book. She's in Nigeria, which is not Kenya, but I figure they might kind of maybe have her head over there to fight him or whatnot. So I'm guessing one of them is going to be Akachi. You heard it here first.
Well, all I know is we're probably going to get Jenny, Roland, Wendy, and then Ian, who's your second favorite investigator?
Who's my second?
I get what's
That's the
going
world
on.
we live in!
Well, I would consider Wendy my second favorite, so if we get Wendy, that should confirm that. And we should say
it's just gonna be
someone's
going to be all the rogues.
Yeah, that'd be great if the first 5 were just all rogues, including ones we don't even have yet.
And Skid somehow gets worse.
The alt art version has 1 less willpower.
That's your concussion talking.
I don't think so.
Skids is still pretty bad.
But we should say that somehow I don't even know how someone got they didn't get Jenny cards. They actually got Roland cards in their book, so we do know that one of their books is going to be Roland for sure.
Yeah, so I was strongly considering just furiously purchasing those Hour of the Huntresses that they had at Arkham Knights, just hoping that one of them had a Roland pack in it. But I decided against it.
I think I stayed your hand. I was like, no, Nick, you mustn't.
That's a sound financial decision.
Right, yeah. I could use 30 Hour of the Huntresses novellas. Have you guys read that yet, by the way?
I started it the other night, but it was late. And
Yeah.
I'd got like 3 pages in, and I just had to go to sleep.
I brought it on the plane, but then I fell asleep on the plane.
God damn it.
While we're great at reading.
I'm about halfway through.
Oh, okay.
Through.
I'm on chapter 2, so I'm a little further than those guys. I like it for the most part so far. I mean, it's just getting set up. My only complaint about it is that it seemed like they really had to hammer home that, like, hey guys, it's in the 20s. Just to remind you, it's in the 20s. Here's all these references.
Yeah, we know stuff that existed in the 20s, but
right, yeah. But once I got past that, it was pretty good. So
yeah, I enjoy it. You know, I think I guess it's worth talking about the community reaction, because while I'm excited and a lot of other people are, I have seen in various forums that people are raising a bit of a stink about it, that, oh, this is a money grab from FFG.
That's a very political way to put it.
So I don't know
what it was. A bit of a kerfuffle, one might say.
I have a feeling you guys will probably be along the same lines of thinking as me, but what do you guys think about this whole novella project? My knee-jerk reaction was to go, that sucks that they're locking game content behind buying a book. Like, but that was my knee-jerk reaction. But then when I actually sat and
then I got to buy it.
But when I actually thought about it, and I thought about myself and how I deal with both self-publishing and with game design and that sort of stuff, and I'm like, well, no, if I were to do something like that, if I were to release a game and then write fiction based around that game, I would probably want to do something else, because on the producer side of it, you don't see it as we're going to keep this from the public except for those that buy it. You're seeing it as this is going to be a nice little bonus for the people who...
It's a bonus.
Yeah. And once I thought of it that way, then I was totally fine with it. But I'll admit that my knee-jerk reaction was well, this kind of sucks. But I came around.
Well, that's
my knee-jerk reaction.
The knee-jerk reaction that the entitled internet has trained into you. Guys, this is content that we're getting that didn't exist before.
And wouldn't exist.
That you don't have to have. And I know people will argue hey, I'm a completionist, I do have to have it. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I just like the idea that we can get more stuff. That's cool to me.
I think the coolest thing about, one of the cool things about Arkham, and I love that they're doing it like this is that there's so much design space just around the investigators, and like how you can take one investigator and there's tons of potential for how you can tweak him or change him or her, and make it a little different. And I love that they're showing us that they're considering that with providing alternate signature cards and alternate weaknesses. And I hope that eventually we even get like an alternate version of Jenny or something like that, or maybe a scenario that takes into account, something specific around Jenny's weakness or something like that. Like, I love that idea that the investigators are more than just the character you play. They actually have their own little place in the world of Arkham. And this is just a cool way to explore that.
Yeah, it was like a couple of days before this was announced. I was mentioning on Discord that it would be cool if there was a way for the investigators' individual stories to advance, because they take part in campaigns. And then this was announced, and that's basically what it's doing. I mean, in kind of a small way, but it's basically like, here is like a story of how they're advancing their story, and here are new signature cards to reflect how their story has changed. Like, that's pretty cool, and I think it's, it's obviously content that wouldn't exist without the book, so they're basically giving us more stuff for the game. I think most of the people are upset is because they don't want the book at all, so maybe if I was in that camp and I didn't care about reading the stories at all, then maybe I would be upset. I don't know, but...
But to be fair, I've paid way more than $15 for a rare promo for an LCG before.
For sure.
Well, and I was making the joke. I was making the joke at Arkham Knights, like, you're paying $15 for the promos, and you're getting a free book with it.
Yeah. But I do think that there is a legitimate complaint to be had around this. I mean, simply, anytime you talk about, like, here's this product, and it's a product that exists in this medium, but suddenly there are additional items for this product only purchasable through another medium, like, I think there's a complaint to be had there. I'm just saying that I've come around to not agreeing with that complaint.
Yeah.
Well, it's fine to complain about it, but where it crosses the line for me, where it's just like, oh, blatant money grab, FFG sucks, just like if someone goes, ugh, I didn't really want to buy that book, that sucks. That's fine. It's the vitriol that comes out of the internet sometimes that just makes me go, dudes.
I guess, yeah, I'm not as surprised by that anymore. Like, I honestly just don't even pay attention to a lot of that stuff anymore, so. Makes the internet
really
much more enjoyable.
Time on the internet. it would be good for me. But what is cool, I did want to mention this for anyone who obviously wasn't there. The books themselves, this wasn't the promos that come with the books is not like a limited time or a pre-order bonus. We did confirm that every copy of this book that gets printed will have these promos. So it's not like you missed it. You just got to get it somehow.
And
whatever that ends up being.
They're not print on demand.
Yes.
Quality. They're real cards.
Yeah.
Oh,
that I'd noticed
so
that
nice.
too.
They feel very good.
Also, I'm not one for art usually, but the cover of that book, like the new art for that, my goodness, that is such a badass picture.
Yeah, for sure.
Just Jenny being Jenny.
Yeah, just
doing Jenny things.
Yeah.
I don't know, she's not throwing cash at the monster.
I love it. I don't think this is a spoiler, but I love how throughout the book there's like different scenes of her throwing money around, which is like, of course, like...
Well, little did you know that every one of her bullets is a converted silver dollar. Cash bullets, baby.
Melt it down and then reforge it.
Wait, what movie do they actually do that? They do that for some werewolf movie.
Melt silver dollars?
Yeah, melt silver dollars down to actually make into a projectile. Right. All right, never mind. It'll come to me when I'm in the shower tomorrow.
Yeah. So books are a thing. There's more coming. Hopefully enough people support it that we get more, because there's like 1 billion, like 50 or 60 Arkham investigators at this point now. Yeah. And they're in the recent... the new Eldritch horror expansion that's coming out is introducing some brand new investigators that haven't existed, so it'd be nice to even get a chunk of those through these books.
It would be real cool to just have a standalone product where we could get entirely new investigators between the beginning of cycles, guys.
Oh, I would love that, yeah. Just give us some investigators, yeah. Because at this rate, we're never going to get the whole pool.
No, it's going to take forever.
Yeah.
It's cool. I don't know if they're going to do that, but at least they have an avenue now.
Yes, that is true.
So it's pretty cool.
Okay, so the other news article was introducing, this is number 4, I believe, in the Path to Carcosa cycle. This is the Pallid Mask. And this is taking us from the previous scenario, which is taking place in Paris, down beneath Paris into the famous catacombs that are beneath that city. And the new mechanic of this scenario is basically that the map is going to be built as you explore. So as you move through, the map will get bigger, and you might find yourself going in a loop or finding yourself stuck in a certain spot. So for those of you who have played Lord of the Rings, this sounds like a cool twist on the map mechanic that was used in, God, what is that quest called? I can't even remember. Temple of the Deceived.
Yep.
So this is kind of a twist on that, where instead of the map being laid out at the beginning, it's going to be generated as you move through it.
Does the enemy in the cover art have a shower faucet coming out of his mouth?
Yes.
It's like a Cthulhu Bane from Batman. That's what I'm thinking.
His power is just hitting you with like the coldest shower ever.
You nearly adopted the catacombs. Yeah.
I was born with the cold water.
I didn't see a hot shower until
Till I was a grown man.
So,
Jeez.
by chance, have any of you guys been to the catacombs?
No.
So
No.
I've
Like
been
the
to
actual
I've been
ones?
to France.
Yeah, I've been to both the Paris ones and the Roman ones. Catacombs are creepy as hell. Like, even though they're like kind of well lit and there's like people they're doing excavation stuff like that. Like,
Scott, so you're trying to tell me that a hole in the ground with a bunch of dead people stuffed in it is creepy?
but no, it's not even that. Like it's I don't know. Like you can see down certain stairwells, but then it just turns pitch black and there's nothing. And like the guide who was taking us through said, yeah, these are chained off because there was people who went down there to map them out and they didn't come back. Like, can you imagine that death? Like getting lost in catacombs and like
Wow.
starving or going dehydration like for days in pitch black.
Adding to the old collection.
Oh my god! Like, good choice on setting.
I haven't been in man-made caves like catacombs and stuff like that, but I have been in South Dakota. There's like Wind Cave and Jewel Cave and that sort of thing, and I've been in those. And there are definitely paths where they're like, yeah, okay, stick to the lighted path, don't go down this way. And it's like, but what's down that way? And it's, the natural stuff is very, I think that's really creepy too. But yeah, I can imagine how it'd be very similar underneath like Paris or something.
Yeah, I know there's people who do, when you go underwater, is it spelunking? What's when like
spelunking is just cave
diving.
Yeah, like
cave
the,
exploring, yeah.
Yeah, so the scuba cave exploring.
Don't try to tell that to a spelunker, though.
Yeah.
Oh, they're just cave explorers.
I've seen documentaries on it where they have like they call them squeezes, where they actually have to like take off their tanks and like go through separately because it's so tight, but like the views on the other side are awesome. But there's signs on certain ones that say like, don't go through here. It's not worth your life, all these things, because people have gone through and gotten lost because like they'll hit silt, it'll go up and then they can't see anything.
That is just a whole picture of nope.
So how does the person who made the sign know it's not worth it if everyone who went on the other side died? Like,
Not
how
everyone
does...
dies.
Oh, okay, fine, fair enough.
The silt kills 10 people, sends one person back, take this message with you.
Tell the others.
I don't know, I kind of like my odds.
Yeah, I think I'm fine doing underground stuff, catacombs, but water underground, no. I'm not setting foot in any water that's under the ground.
That's a different level of nope.
Yeah.
We did get some player cards, though.
We did get some player cards. Yeah, I think this is a cool choice for setting, and I think this is our first Arkham dungeon dive, right?
Yeah.
So the first spoiled player card is a Guardian card. So Nick, why don't you read Inspiring Presence?
Oh, I would love to. Inspiring Presence is a Guardian skill, level 0 skill. It has a will icon, an intellect icon, and a combat icon. It is innately traded with the innate trait. And its game text reads, if this skill test is successful, ready an ally asset at your location and heal 1 damage or horror from it. Anderson's a hard ass, sure, always locking up the rum and waking us up at the crack of dawn, but out here in the middle of nowhere, he's definitely the one I want taking point. I'm excited to see him as an investigator at some point.
Oh, Leo.
Mm-hmm.
This card's pretty good.
Yeah, I like it.
Seems okay.
How many allies are there currently that actually exhaust?
Beat Cop level 2, I think, is the big one that people
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably the main one for this.
And also it heals the damage from it. Basically, you get a full another
A
charge
free
out of
beat
it.
cup, yeah, or a free...
Guard Dog doesn't exhaust, does it?
Nope.
No.
That's the thing, is there's very few allies that actually exhaust. So while I do love this card...
Duke, yeah.
Yeah.
He-
Oh, this
is
is
he-
really good Ash Can Splash.
Is he an ally? Is Duke an ally?
Yeah.
Sure is.
Oh,
He doesn't
okay.
take up the ally
He just
slot.
doesn't take the slot.
Right. Yeah, that's great in Ashcan, then.
All right, well, I found 2 of my splash. Because those are really flexible icons, too. Like,
Yes.
Those are the most important icons.
Yep.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
It's basically all the icons that Guardians use.
Right.
So
The next card is Scott. Why don't you take this one, since I know you're a connoisseur of quiche.
Oh, I would love it. So this one's really interesting because it kind of goes different from what we've seen with quiche before. But so it's a emergency cash, 0 cost, 3 XP, and has the trait supply. It has gain 4 resources or place 4 supply tokens among assets controlled by investigators at your location or any combination thereof.
Scott, why don't you run us down a list of things that use supplies?
Well, I'll start the list with discovered strange solutions, and everything after that doesn't matter. So, but really, being able to reload the strange solutions, I mean, there's no other way to reload them currently. So, that was the first thing that jumped out at me.
Yeah, strange solutions, flashlights for an investigator who's using them. First aid, I think, uses supplies.
Mm-hmm.
I think what else? Are lockpicks supplies?
According to Josh, they are.
Okay, that seems okay.
I mean, I could grab a list right now, but I think it'd be a very boring list.
Yeah, no, you're Scott, so I thought you might have one handy.
No, I'm concussed.
Okay.
Oh, that's fair. I like how this is yet another example of FFG just trying to bury contraband. Just like, forget about contraband.
I don't know, though, because all of a sudden contraband turns into, you have 8 tokens on this thing if you combine it with quiche.
Yeah, if you want to devote 3+ spaces in your deck to literally just building up supply. Because
I don't know, yeah.
this only
I
hits
think
supply.
the only thing that... Yes, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, this only hits supply, but contraband hits anything. Like, the contraband is that going for it. But the fact that you just double what's on it, like, contraband is such a narrow window to be played. So,
Yep. I think the only cool combos that contraband could have is generally with ammo, so...
right. Well, that'd be really the only reason why you'd want to... Because it costs 4, doesn't it?
It does,
Sure
yeah.
does.
Yeah.
Jeez. That's the only reason why you'd want to use it.
Well, you know what you could do is play emergency cash, get those 4
Quiche.
resources, yeah, quiche, and then play contraband. There you go.
Sure, but again...
I'm just kidding. That's a whole.
I know, it's
Okay,
just
guys,
like...
he's concussed.
This is my Jenny contraband quiche deck. Like, I don't know.
All right. So really quickly, because you made me do it. Cards that use supplies.
Nice.
It's a really short list, actually. I'm surprised.
Pulls through for us.
First aid, flashlight, liquid courage, lockpicks, painkillers, and smoking pipe. And then the 3 strange solutions once you've discovered them.
Painkillers and smoking pipe could be very useful with this.
And
Yeah.
especially because you could take 2 resources and 2 supplies. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to like put 4 more painkillers in your little tote box.
Right.
You don't have to fully commit.
Well, and imagine if you have 4 investigators and 3 of them have flashlights, and they're all at the same location. That's just like, boom, 1 more charge on every flashlight, and then I'll take a resource. Like,
Yeah.
it's so, the fact that you can hit anybody at the location, we need
Yes.
more cards that do that, because that is so powerful.
And
That was actually my big complaint thematically with emergency cash originally, was that it's like, oh, hey, I have this cache of cool stuff, but only I get it. It's my stuff, guys.
Should have been rogue, should have been green colored.
I like too that, from the min-maxing part of it, it's an easy progression. Like if you know, let's say you're playing like a Spellslinger Daisy and you're going to get those strange solutions, it's easier to upgrade to Emergency Cache level 2 and then 3. Like once you make that jump, you can you don't have to take the 3 XP all at once. You can do 2 and then 1, which I kind of like.
Well, and it's
Do you
really
think
cool.
it's worth the extra XP just for the extra resource? You think if an investigator who is already at level 2... Oh, no, see, but if you're already at level 2, then you're
By the
getting a
click
draw, so maybe
economy.
it's not that cut and dry.
See, level 2 quiche and level 3 quiche, I think, fill different needs in different decks. And I
Absolutely.
think that's what's so amazing about them, is that, like, my Roland deck can snatch up the level 2 quiches, and then some other deck that I'm playing with won't feel bad that suddenly those are out of the card pool in my collection or whatever, because they do different things. Like, I mean, they do the same thing to some degree, but really you're going to be taking level 2 for a different reason than you're going to be taking level 3.
Yeah, and I think, looking at that list, the only one that really jumps out at me is the Strange Solutions.
Sure.
Because those flashlights, there's so many things that help you with investigating, but Strange Solutions kind of break it a bit for the Seekers. So,
They do.
but you're totally right, Nick. Like, they're quiche level 2, level 3, completely different. But I think if you are going for that Strange Solution build, you're probably playing higher ed. And so that movement from, like, level 2 quiche is still very good for that deck. And then you move into level 3. Maybe keep one of each. Who knows?
At the very least, it seems like some really good, like, late campaign, I don't know what to buy experience.
Yeah. Well, that's what quiche level 2 is
Does
right now.
everyone not have that problem? Guys, run more delves.
Yeah.
All right. Is that it for the news?
That's about it. We got a recent article that was just saying that Labyrinths of Lunacy is going to be available soon.
Ooh, and that one is also being released on full quality cardstock, right? The retail pack for that is going to be... Did I read that right? Am I making things up?
I do not recall offhand, but that could be the case.
Because it's in a full retail pack. Like, it's got to be not print on demand regular. Because I have to get my third copy because I have to be able to run Epic multiplayer. So
Well, Rougarou and Carnival were things you could purchase. They
Yes.
were still POD. So...
And I didn't read the article, so I have no
right.
input.
I might be making that up. Don't quote me on that. All right, guys. Well, Scott, I believe you have some rules PSAs. What did we title this segment?
Oh,
I don't remember now.
Did we title it?
we did, and it was hilarious.
Oh.
I
Must
can't.
not have- oh, okay.
All right. Well, let's start it up, and one of us will think of it. I'm sure.
All right. So just quickly, the one I could think of was regarding the new Jenny cards. So you can either take her old set of cards, her new set of cards, or both. You can't choose like the guns and the new weakness. Like you can't mix and match. You have to take the full set of either or both. And the bigger one was with her weakness. So her special ability says you collect one additional resource during each upkeep phase. But the new Sacrificial Beast says Jenny Barnes cannot gain resources via card effects. So the rules question was, Jenny's ability isn't actually a card effect, it's just modifying something in the upkeep phase, essentially. But Matt ended up ruling and saying, the way it was designed, they meant it to stop Jenny from getting her additional resource. Because the way, like, if you go rule of law, she would still get that additional resource. So it would stop stuff like Lone Wolf or Emergency Cache or whatever.
Yeah.
But Matt said, we're making a special little ruling for this because thematically, that makes sense, right? And I think that's how most people would play it, just looking at it. And it's only the rules nerds that would be like, actually, that's not a card effect. So her new weakness stops her from gaining any additional resources, including her own little ability.
Ugh. So bad.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
Separating Jenny from her money.
Yeah. Like, searching for Izzy could be bad, but, like, it wasn't terrible.
No.
Because a lot of times, like, with a lot of scenarios, it could end up just falling out of play in mid-scenario, which was always kind of handy. But this one, like, just straight up not only shutting her down, but also shutting down a lot of the cards that pretty much everybody wants in their deck.
Yeah.
And that bastard enemy doesn't hunt, so it just sits there and is like, nope, you ain't gonna do nothing. Nope.
It should have reverse
You're not
hunter
getting any
where
resources.
it moves a location away from you every turn.
Yeah, like this on Essex County Express, you draw that, and you just perma-boned. Like it's so
it's
bad.
just gonna sit there in the engine car, and you're done.
And it's not even like
So, pro tip for anyone who is using replacement on the new SIGs, I would pack 2 elusives, because getting to that guy fast and killing him is a thing.
yeah. Just hope you can afford the elusives.
Yeah, suddenly that's an issue.
Yeah.
Hopefully, up to that point, Jenny's been doing all right for herself. But
I'm just gonna pump with street what? Oh, I have no money.
sad Jenny trombone.
Yeah.
That's it for rules.
All right. Well, guys, let's move it on to Cosa. Grim Lost Carcosa. I've come to a place of peace with that whole thing. So that's funny again.
I'm glad.
I've listened to that part a lot, actually. Like, well,
It's good.
The actual song. Well done. That was top notch.
Well, thank you.
It always gets stuck in my head at random moments. I'm like taking my kid to daycare.
Dude.
I'm like, Cosa. Tim loves Carcosa.
It might become a ringtone for me.
Sorry, my proudest line of that whole thing was the cloud waves breaking ever closer. Wink.
Yeah. I love the Cosa.
All right, so let's move it on to Carcosa then. So setting up Curtain Call. Anything that kind of stuck out for you guys that you want to call attention to?
Jim
3
is
skulls in that chaos bag. Yeah, Jim's amazing.
There sure are. So one thing that I've kind of, I don't know if this was obvious to everyone else, and I'm just stating something that I have been missing the whole time, but the skull very specifically throughout campaigns sometimes it gears off monsters, sometimes it gears off like the agenda, but it's always like the scalar token, right? It's always the one that tends to get worse as the scenario goes on.
Mm-hmm.
So I never really kind of put together why there might be more skulls than anything else in the bag, because that just kind of it scales the bag as you go through. So it's interesting to see that they popped in an additional one in from what we've seen in past campaigns.
The skull and curtain call specifically is like one to pay attention to, because it's if you're playing on easy and standard, it's the -1 and then -3 if you have 3 or more horror on you, I believe. So it's kind of incentive, which we'll talk about, to keep your horror low, which is I think a theme of this cycle.
Yeah.
So I thought it was cool that Lola specifically, since she was kind of I kind of want to call her the feature investigator of this box. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So.
She has her own preamble, so I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, she wins.
Yeah,
that
I mean,
one.
the whole thing is the King in Yellow. She's the actress who is in the King in Yellow. Like, she has her own special setup text. Like, I'm fine just calling Lola the feature investigator. But it was cool to see that. You know, honestly, I don't know in the alternate universe where this didn't happen if I would have even noticed, like, hey, Lola's supposed to be in the play. Why is she in the audience? But it was cool to see that someone else thought of that.
Yeah. I wonder if it was as they were playing it, someone pointed it out, like, wait, why is she in the audience watching herself perform? I wonder if we're going to get any other special Lola story stuff, or if it's just the special prologue.
I have a sneaking suspicion it probably goes through all of Carcosa.
That would be cool.
Yeah,
It would be interesting.
Just little hints. I'm not sure I would enjoy it if it actually affected gameplay, however. Although that would give awesome replayability, right? Like, you can play Carcosa with or without Lola, and it's 2 different experiences.
See, that intrigues me more than it just being a narrative blurb before the scenario. Because after the first time I play that scenario, I skip that. You know what I mean? So I don't read that paragraph, and then it's just, oh, she starts backstage. But the notable difference is that Lola starts at a location she can get clues from. Everyone else does not.
That's very
so
true.
that there is a gameplay implication there. And we've already discussed Lola and saying that Kluver Lola is best Lola currently. So I think she starts with a little teensy bit of an edge in Curtain.
No, I would agree.
Yeah.
And Curtain Call moves fast once it gets rolling, so I'm kind of fine with that because Lola's kind of a slow burn in scenario 1 of a campaign.
Oh, just
as
yeah.
we mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So talking then kind of general, I guess, strategy. I say, bold but true, you always go backstage first.
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
That's what I've done like 90% of the time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because the time I went out to the lobby first was the time that I was like, oh god, how am I going to do all these move actions through all the crap that's happening? when act. Oh yeah, I suppose, hang on, before we get any farther in. Spoiler alert. Or... okay, like we've spoiled the opening credits at this point.
Yeah.
Sure.
So spoiler alert for Path to Carcosa, the 2 scenarios. We're going deep. So if you don't want anything spoiled for you, come back later.
Right.
Okay, so when the last agenda flips, if you're backstage, you gotta muscle all the way through the stage, the theater. If you're trying to get any extra clues on your way out, you gotta find your way to do that. It's just a thing. Whereas if you go backstage first, and you kind of plan that when the act advances, you're already out in the lobby area. The only sticking point is that if the man in the pallid mask first shows up backstage, then that can be an issue. But I find like if you hover around the theater, like right around the time he's about to come out, then you're pretty safe there.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Of course, you don't know any of this going into it the first time.
No.
Yeah.
No. That was such a face check the first time I played this scenario. Like, I think I lost before, like, I don't even know how quickly I lost. It was fast.
Yeah.
So
I think that's worth mentioning that I found this to be a noticeable step up in difficulty from the Dunwich Legacy box, especially in solo. This was, and part of it was you encounter these high shroud values that you're just like, what the hell is this? Like, one of them has a 5, there's a 4, a lot of 4s sticking around. 3s are like, seem to be the average instead of like a 2. So it's something that I think a lot of people encountered playing Curtain Call specifically first and delving into this box. Like, whoa, like, I don't know if it was, just a straight difficulty increase, or it just required, because I feel like I've been a lot more successful now that I know this scenario is kind of inside and out, so maybe it was just like a learning curve type thing, but it's definitely a different beast.
I just feel like the Carcosa box in general leans harder on pure raw intellect than Dunwich did.
Yeah.
Like, I know we had our whole thing with Where Doom Awaits where you get bottlenecked there, but most of Dunwich let you play with tricks. Carcosa doesn't really care about your shit that much.
Well, in Carcosa, like, it's not only the shroud values, but there's multiple encounter cards in Curtain Call that test intellect 4, intellect 5, and that's rough. And the problem, and I think part of the reason why a lot of us feel like Carcosa is harder, which I do think it is harder, but I can speak for myself at least. When I opened that Carcosa box, of course I wanted to play Curtain Call with one of the new investigators, and of course I was playing true solo, because that's usually how I experience these scenarios first. And I wasn't on this episode, but I'm pretty sure you guys talked about how the Carcosa investigators are not geared for true solo. Some more than others, but mostly they're team players. They're not ones you want to take true solo.
Yeah.
I'm sure we mentioned that, right, Ian?
I hope so. I'm pretty sure we did.
Definitely
it was like one of the main things.
But I agree, yeah, and especially like if you look, like I said, like we're leaning a little bit harder on intellect now, and if you look at the intellect spread on the Carcosa investigators, it's kind of grim.
It is very.
Yeah, that's one thing we did mention, is that it felt like the Carcosa investigators were not set up for Carcosa. Like,
right.
It's you need them books.
Yeah, you kind of have to. I think I played with Yorick like 3 or 4 times before I finally kind of tweaked the deck and figured out like how to make it work solo, because obviously his base intellect isn't high like a lot of the Carcosa investigators, so have to figure out.
I think I did the Curtain Call 3 times with Safina and then 2 times with Lola, and failed all 5 of those times, and I was just like, well, that sucks. Like, it wasn't until I played it two-player with my wife that I actually got through the scenario, so.
Yeah, playing it two-handed is definitely a lot more manageable. You can just be in a lot more places at once. I mean, that's always true for this game, but I feel like it's especially true for Curtain Call. in Carcosa in general.
Yeah, and I feel like Curtain Call really rewards two well-rounded investigators versus specialists.
Oh, yes.
I ran it through. What did I do? I did Kluver Lola with Mark, and they got through all right. It was a little rocky, but they got through it. And then I did Akachi and Min, both of whom were a little bit more well-rounded, and I had a much better time with it.
That's what my wife and I are actually taking through for my wife's face check one. Is she's playing Akachi and I'm playing Min, and
They're a good pair.
yeah, they seem like they're decently well rounded. I got lucky in that my face check solo campaign. I took Daisy because I was on a Daisy kick. So I got
That'll do it.
I got 3 XP on the first scenario. I was like, all right, higher ed. I'm good for the rest of the campaign. So
Yeah, so what are some ways you guys have compensated for the need for books, for all those book icons?
Bring yellow.
yeah, pretty much.
Perception. Always pack double perception, at least for this first scenario. Like, there's even enemies in this scenario that not have to be, but can be defeated with intellect and not with traditional means. Like, jeez.
We should talk about the Poltergeist specifically, because the Poltergeist was
Yes.
responsible for, like, 2 of my 3 Yorick losses initially, I think. I was like, what the...
I mean, I can't shovel this thing to death?
Yeah. So it can only be harmed by spells and what is it? Like artifacts
Spells, relics, or encounter cards.
Okay.
Yeah, that's...
And you can also parlay. So it has 2 health. You can parlay, testing 3 intellect. And if you succeed, it deals 1 damage. Now, that being said, fine clothes makes this a
Bring
1.
your clothes.
Yeah. That alone made me have, like, every deck I've played through Carcosa has at least 1 fine clothes. Like,
Yeah.
it's...
I need to get extra copies of that card. Where did that come in? Which pack was that?
It was 5 or
Essex
6.
County, wasn't it?
If it was the same pack that had charisma, I'm definitely just buying a second copy.
Maybe it wasn't then. Maybe
I
it was.
don't think it was
Blood on the
Charisma,
Altar.
the same one. But that is the first
Anyway.
player card that I have proxied.
It's so funny that card was one that I kept looking at throughout Dunwich and thinking, like, when am I ever going to use this? Like, why would I add this to my deck? And then, like, both scenarios in Carcosa, I'm like, nope, bring those fine clothes, because King in Yellow likes it when you dress nice.
Yeah.
And I really hope that they continue to develop that area of the game, because that's really cool that you can, like, talk or reason or whatever it happens to be with the enemies, and we kind of have a different avenue of approaching the thing versus just smashing their face in with a hammer.
See, and I mistakenly, like, back when I played Nazi. I played Night of the Zealot again. Jeez. My wife is laughing at me. I know. I played Night of the Zealot again 3 or 4 plays. Stop laughing at me. That's a mistake. I'm sorry. And I was playing Lola, and I was like, oh, I'm totally going to throw fine clothes in there for Midnight Masks. Totally forgot that none of those are tests. Like, the parlay actions on those cultists are just
Oh, right.
do whatever. Ugh.
Yeah, they cost you things.
Right.
But I bet they were slightly less difficult, right?
Theoretically.
Well, at its worst, like, Fine Clothes is 1/1 soak for a single cost on a slot that is not contentious for most investigators.
Yeah.
I've been running like 1 Fine Clothes in most campaigns that I've been playing since it came out,
Yeah.
and we only continue to see more uses for it. So watch that card. I think it's gonna keep getting gooder.
Sean came in your favorite pack, Where Doom Awaits.
Oh, it did. Okay.
Yeah.
Apparently, poltergeists are really, like, reasonable as long as you're dressed up. If you're just wearing your shitty street clothes, they don't even want to have anything to do with you.
Well, if you put on your Sunday finest, you're going to church, and they're like, oh, not church. And then, yeah.
It's the ghost of your really religious grandma who always slapped you upside the head when you tried to go to church in jeans. Was that just me?
Probably.
Maybe. Well, they are poltergeists in a theater, so presumably
Oh my god, they're just theater students who didn't make it.
Yeah.
No wonder they're angry.
They're really bitter, unless you impress them with your fine clothes. So, other ways of handling the books, lucky, of course, that's no surprise, but I've also found myself just specifically tailoring my deck icons, like checking that chart in Arkham DB and even adding it, like if I'm choosing between like 2 or 3 cards at the end to cut, like I might make that choice just on the intellect icons alone.
And also,
I also feel like anything that gets like really sneaky with clues, like you're drawn to the flames,
Shovels.
your gravedigger shovels. Anything that gives you test list clues is going to be a big boon.
Yeah. Look what I found. Also pretty good if you can get close.
Well, and even Look What I Found does have 2 intellect icons on it, so even if you don't use it for the text, it's a great card to commit in Curtain Call.
Might be one of the best Lola cards.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, if she hits it, great. If not, haha, 2 clues. I suppose that applies for anyone who runs that card, though.
Yeah.
And if you're not running Survivor and Lola, you're doing it wrong. So
Right.
So, how about the locations? How do you guys think about the kind of location setup? I'll lead with, I love the balcony flavor. The fact that you can move from the balcony to the theater. What is going on?
It's so amazing.
Yeah, they were good. I think this is the first scenario, even campaign, where I felt reading the text on the cards, like it actually creeped me out. Like the setting text of it. Yeah, like the flavor text of it. I think was just absolutely amazing. Like I actually was like, ugh, this is gross, or like I can't remember what it was, but I was like slightly off kilter. Whereas Dunwich was like, oh yeah, they're sacrificing people. Well, that happens, you know.
When in Rome.
Yeah.
Well, and one thing I liked is at least so far in Carcosa, at least as far as I noticed, maybe I just missed things, but it seems like most of the flavor text is actually written for this, whereas Dunwich had some of that, but a lot of it was like quotes from the Dunwich horror, which are cool.
Yeah,
and they
that's
add
fair.
flavor. But I honestly, when I flipped one and I saw like it was a quote, like I'm less interested because it's not pertaining specifically to what we're doing.
Yeah. I just love the whole setup for the whole thing. Like, you're going to watch this play, you fall asleep, and you wake up like the other patrons are dead. And it's just like everyone is missing. It's just like you said, Scott, super creepy. But I think it really like sets up kind of the story for the cycle, because it's the classic, like, okay, you were sleeping, you woke up, so what's real and what's not, and what really happened. Like, I remember Matt Newman mentioning this in various places. This was going to be a more kind of personal horror story, and I think we've seen that so far.
Mm-hmm.
We are unreliable narrators, all of us.
Oh, aren't we though?
Can't wait until we finish scenario 8 and it just turns into a big Jacob's Ladder situation.
Oh boy. So, okay, so let's talk about the man in the pallid mask a little bit here. I thought it was a cool mechanic. There are a couple parts of it that worry me slightly. He is an enemy that he's got 4 fight base, right? And 3 health.
Correct.
So that right there kind of puts him in range of your heavy fighters. And then you can also investigate him away at +2 shroud.
Yeah.
So again, leaning pretty hard on pure intellect, because again, like Doom Awaits, it's an action on the card, so you can't cheese it at all.
Mm-hmm. Not as Daisy.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Well, and when my wife and I were doing it when we were playing the other night, and I'm sitting here like we're talking through how to strategize and like do that action and get the damage on or defeat him via the investigation. I'm like, you can engage him, then he can move to this location because it has 3 fewer shroud than the one you're at, and then blah 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 blah. And then I'm staring at it, and after like a turn of talking through that, I'm like, wait a minute, you can just beat him, just beat him to death. Like, don't even worry about it. And so like. It's interesting because it provides an alternative to where if you're not combat focused, but that alternative can be like a huge hurdle, especially in a scenario with an average shroud of around 4. Like, that's rough.
I just love the thematic implication of the fact that you can just beat the crap out of him every time he shows up. Like, he's supposed to be like this perception just on the edge of your knowing, and he's kind of like this white rabbit object that's kind of like mysteriously guiding you through this adventure.
And then he shows up and you're just like, get him!
Shotgun him through the front door.
That's that asshole again.
Mark's like, this is how I investigate. Just punches him right in the face.
One, I should shoot him, boss.
Am I real or am I... Ow, ow, ow!
I feel like I've taken the investigate option a lot, and sometimes the difficulty has varied. Like, the first time he shows up, depending on what location he's at. A lot of times it's been a matter of saving up some special cards for that moment, basically. Because you're going to have to pass some huge test and just hope you don't draw the tentacle.
Oh, that tentacle.
Like Fieldwork was, I mentioned in the past couple episodes that I used it for an important test without spoiling it, and that's what it basically was for, was Men in the Pallid Mask.
Oh, man. Fieldwork is so good.
Oh,
because that basically covers that +2.
Yeah.
I undervalued that card until I started playing it, and now it's like,
really?
2 copies. Well, I thought, like, okay.
Fieldwork is so good.
I'm like, okay, so 1 test. Oh well, but I'm like, oh no, this is really, really good to get +4 to the next thing I do when you have 2 of them out.
Especially when your name rhymes with Schmurphy.
Yeah.
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 Well, and double Fieldwork and double Pathfinder. Like, to me, those are like the 4 must-haves in any Seeker deck, because the 2 of them together, it's amazing. It's like you do those, and then you have the rest of your turn to do whatever you want.
Turns out to be
Everyone
really
becomes
useful in
Monterey
Carcosa.
Jack.
So.
I guess you could also Dynamite Blast the Man in the Pallid Mask.
Oh, that'd be great.
He's like trying to peer around a corner all creepily and just gets hit in the face with some dynamite.
It's the Arkham equivalent of nuking him from orbit.
Yeah.
Okay, so as the plot thickens, we get a random Act 2.
Mm-hmm.
That I think significantly affects the campaign.
Very much so.
Yes.
So
yes
I
and no.
like the idea that we get random tokens. Like, I liked the design of it. That we get random tokens and they do different things. They provide for a different experience depending on what's happening. We got the water, we got the fire, and we got the ooze.
Sure, yeah.
Fuck the ooze in the neck, though.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But the tokens they add, I can't remember if they all do the same thing in Curtain Call, right?
Yes.
It's in The Last King where it's like, oh,
yeah,
I drew the tablet. Screw me, I guess.
Yeah.
That felt a little tough for me. I don't know if I'll feel differently having played the whole campaign and like seeing an ebb and flow, and maybe sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. But the fact that like the cultist was a -2 and the tablet's a -4, take a horror or whatever it is, that was just like, oh well, okay. All I did was randomly select a thing like you told me to.
It's interesting because this sort of sets up the idea that these will be shifting after each scenario potentially.
Oh, God, it's gonna make tracking multiple campaigns at the same time hell.
I'll just use the app. You have an Android phone.
I should do that, but I have my handwritten campaign log. So nice.
Oh, trust me, I had the handwritten campaign log from Arkham Knights last year, and I loved it. But once I got the app, I was like, this is so much easier! But anyway, like, this sets up the idea that they could potentially be changing after each scenario, which I guess if they change fairly frequently, then I'm okay with it being somewhat random, but at the same time, it does suck, like you said, to go into The Last King and realize, oh, because of that thing that I had 0 control over in the first scenario, suddenly this scenario is, 50% harder or whatever.
Way worse.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that gets back to the same problem that I think we all collectively had with, the -3 or the -5 getting added, partway through Dunwich. Like, we recognize what it's doing, but it's like, give me the slightest, smallest inkling of a possibility to get out of it or something.
Right.
I think I'm okay knowing now like how The Last King works out, where okay, so for this scenario you get a random act, and then for next scenario you get some random tokens, but then they switch again. Like you said, Nick, if they switch every single scenario, I think that's actually a pretty cool mechanic. That's kind of what I was getting at by saying
that's better.
Like,
yeah. And this one is
maybe I'll
random.
feel differently at the end.
This one is random, but the next one is a choice. So
yes.
I don't know. I'm okay with it, but
I mean,
but
the other
it does
thing
suck that it could set up an already challenging scenario to be like brutal.
Yeah,
Because Last King isn't easy. At least it wasn't. I've only played it twice, but
No, it's not easy. Can confirm.
I think it's interesting
so-
that they're taking a different approach to the Chaos Bag this time, just from the fact you start with, like, when you first look at it, like, oh, skulls and no other special tokens, and then, like, halfway through the first scenario, oh, there they are.
Yeah, so Chaos Bag implications aside, I think the random acts are differing in difficulty as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, the ooze is just awful. Just so awful. Now, is the fire maybe the easiest one, or is it the water?
I think it's the fires.
I suppose it depends on who you're playing. But
Yeah, the water I've only gotten once, and I remember it was a pain, because is that the one where you cancels your move if you try to move?
Test agility 2, and if you fail, you take a damage and can't move. That's the one that we just got. And I honestly thought that was pretty forgiving. I haven't played with the fire, though, so...
fire was the one I got first, and I was kind of okay with it. It felt pretty... It felt hard. It felt fiery, like we can move, but we're just taking damage as we go through. Oh, but man, the first time I got that ooze, I'm like, what the hell? No fair.
I did like the introduction of kind of these environmental effects, which we haven't seen before. Like, it reminds me of Mansions of Madness board game where, you know, you have this fire or darkness spreading. So I'd be down to see something like that again.
Yeah. And like I said, I do like the design of it. I just didn't like that it's so swingy depending on what you get. Like, I love the idea that you can get different experiences and the different things, you know, thematically and mechanically do different things. But it's just like, God, the ooze was just so much worse than the other two. It just feels like, oh, I drew ooze. I guess this is just gonna suck now.
I mean, I don't know how you guys handled it, but I feel like how I've been handling it lately is just getting the right positioning, like you were talking about, you know, which place you go to first, and just kind of setting up things that I'm already going to be in the lobby or around that area, or around where the Man in the Paladin Mask appears, so that basically I have to move through as few of those locations as possible once those kind of fire ooze or whatever shows up.
Wait, there's fire ooze? All right, I'm out.
And it floods the theater.
Oh.
And any stuff that lets you teleport, like elusive, or
Yes.
the what else? What's the spell? Astral travel. Yeah.
I mean, so there are definitely tools to address it, but oh man, when you have to slog through that thing location by location, it can be a rough time. Which is why we go backstage first, because the exit is in the lobby.
So what do you guys think of the Royal Emissary as an enemy?
I thought it was a cool idea. The flavor leading up to it was really awesome, like the haunting music, and then you look at the art and it's like, that thing's making music? It must sound terrible.
I imagine like a creepy sounding bagpipe. Like a wheezing bagpipe.
No, it's a broken hurdy-gurdy.
What is a hurdy-gurdy?
Oh, that's right, you weren't there for that.
I think I'm glad I wasn't.
I like that, and I don't know how to interpret exactly what's happening. Do we like get caught in a loop in time when we defeat the emissary? Is that what's happening? Where you defeat it and you actually like hop back, or are you just beating it back into the shadows and it takes 3 doom to come back?
I feel like you're beating it back into the shadows. I don't think it's a time loop per se. Although I don't know, it could be either.
Like, do you technically read the act every time you re-reveal it, or is it just...
That's a good question. I mean, I usually just skipping over it, so...
Yeah.
Your mileage may vary, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you think of the emissary, Scott?
It was a tough guy to deal with as Daisy face-checking this scenario.
Oh yeah, and the first scenario where she's like working with her shrivelings without higher ed.
Yeah, so I'm one down when I'm firing on shriveling. Yeah, it was rough. I defeated it once. I forget how, and then I was just like, well, I have to leave, so I just aimed to end the scenario as quick as possible.
Yeah, I find the most difficult part about him is the horror he dishes out to connecting locations. So that, like, usually with these big boss type things, you might be able to, like, move around and get set up in preparation, but you can't do that for too long for this guy because he's just going to drive you insane unless you... So it kind of... I think it's a cool design that it kind of pushes you to deal with him quickly.
Mm-hmm. And, I like the idea... God, and this scenario specifically dangles a lot of damn carrots in front of you as far as the victory points go.
Oh.
And the Royal Emissary specifically, where it was just like, he comes back the last time, and it's like, oh, well, we could get out if we wanted to, but there's 2 victory points we're leaving on the table. I can't.
Yeah. I've had I think some of my hardest decisions in Curtain Call have been whether or not to push it and try to get those victory points.
I think that is the game with Curtain Call. Like, if your objective is just to get out as quickly as possible, you can probably do it pretty easily with most investigators. But if you're actually trying to explore a little bit or get the VP, then that's really it's a straight push your luck mechanic, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
So, speaking of going through the agendas and resetting them, did either of you guys hit Agenda 2B?
No, but I looked at it.
Each investigator takes
Safina
100 horror, and they're like, cannot be prevented, which I was like, touche, Matt, future-proofing.
I love how they're just blocking out like any degenerate cancel combo that comes out of the game later. It's just like,
Yeah.
Well, you got Beyond the Veil as Mark at Iron Man, and you took all 10 damage and didn't touch Mark with it. Like,
that's true.
So the 100 horror
He's
is
quite
like,
good at that.
Yeah, the 100 horror is just, okay, listen, you go insane. But because he could have just said, you end and take a mental trauma. But this is just I like the tongue-in-cheek nature of it.
That's so much...
I imagine there's just one person who played it the first time who's like, but I don't have that many tokens.
I think that's so much horror, you have to, like, go back in time and assign horror to your past campaigns and investigating.
Yeah.
I lost every campaign ever.
Nick, did you ever hit Agenda 2B in Curtain Call?
Agenda 2B. Is that the false one?
No, it's the each investigator takes 100 horror.
Oh, that's right. No, I did not. But I do remember, like, I looked at it.
Yeah.
Like, after I had tried it the first time when I had failed, that's when I immediately looked at the reverse side of the cards I hadn't gotten to yet. And the Agenda one was great, and the Act one was great, too. So, or Act 2, rather, not Act 1.
No,
I meant Act 1 is...
It's the Act...
You're thinking of Last King.
Yeah, the Act in Last King is the... There's no reason you should be looking at this side.
Is it? Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, the one where it defines what madness is, and it's like, flip it back over, you dummy.
Why are you looking at this?
I loved that a lot.
The interesting thing about Curtain Call, I'd say both scenarios is, like, Dunwich was lower difficulty than this, but it also was, like, a lower XP spread, whereas this, like, the spread is big. Like, I did horribly and got, like, 1 XP with an investigator, up to, like... Actually, I just started my Skids and Daisy, the Return of Skids and Daisy, and they got 7 XP on this first Curtain Call.
Of course they did. Jeez.
I love that you're doing Skids and Daisy again. That's so good.
Yeah. That was their pride before the fall. Yeah, Network
awesome.
in the Discord chat is saying 11 is possibly the max in solo. So yeah, the spread is just so much bigger.
That's crazy.
I posit it is 13. No, 14. 13. Delve too deep. Yeah, there.
I think.
Oh,
I think 11 is with the 2 delves.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have to specify solo, would you? Because there's no other player scalars for XP in this scenario. Are there?
The new...
I'm asking, I'm not saying.
Out of this scenario?
You can get 11.
Oh, okay.
Max
if
11.
you're packing 2 delves?
Correct.
With
Now,
Bury
what if
Them
you're the-
Deep, you could get 12, I guess.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, unless Network is factoring in the berry.
And what about the new Jenny signature asset? Hey?
This only works for the live... Oh, he wasn't, so yeah, 12
this
the
is our
absolute
new
max.
Mathos Busters
Max.
podcast where we just crunch numbers.
No, I will quit. I can't.
No, we can't.
And yeah, then
Soon
the
as we
Jenny
start
one.
talking about click economy.
Is there a max that you can trigger the new Jenny signature?
I don't
Nope.
think so.
It's just
No, but it only counts for the first card you purchase,
Yeah.
so it's really only going to cost you like 10 if it's a
yeah.
5 XP exceptional card. So that's the max that would
Right.
matter.
Okay.
So it's cool that they limited it that way.
Yeah.
So talking about resolutions on this bad boy, so I think it's cool that the stranger now is just like, this is a thing for this campaign now, guys. He's just going to show up,
Yeah.
confuse you, and go away again.
super cool.
Really not a whole lot by way of choices to be made there. Sorry, I'm reading the resolution here. Oh, that's right. Okay, so the man in the pallid mask gets added to the lead investigator's deck instead of you getting to choose.
Right.
So again, I think Dunwich, did it ever matter who was the lead investigator? I feel like it never ever did.
No, that adding stuff to the lead investigator's deck is something we haven't seen since the course. With Lita. So.
So anyway, for what that matters, there might be a little bit of metagaming strategy to go there. But really, he pops out. Where does he pop out? Just on the location with the highest shroud?
I think it's furthest away.
Furthest away.
Yeah.
Oh, furthest away from you? Okay.
Yeah.
So really, so it might matter. I don't know. Metagame that as you will. I never have. Have any of you guys tried to actually play around with caring who gets the stranger?
I try to put him
Or
with
the man in the
the
pallid
highest intellect person, so if someone's playing Seeker,
Sure.
but just because they can probably deal with him, but I mean...
I feel like that's a great way to make sure he comes out a lot, too, because Seekers
Yeah.
just draw cards.
True, but maybe you want him to come out a lot.
That's true. We don't know whether it's good.
Yeah.
So let's see here.
Yeah.
We get 2 tally marks under chasing the stranger just by virtue of beating the scenario, because they kind of railroad us through the stranger in Curtain Call.
I mean, presumably the more we get, the better, because we're taking tally marks, but who can say?
Presumably.
Yeah, I don't trust anything at this point.
I assume nothing at this point. But having more tally marks means you as a player have addressed this weakness more times, so I assume more is good? It's kind of a betrayal of mechanics.
This is when it plays
not,
into the doubt and conviction part, then, where it's like, if the stranger really is this metaphysical or figment of our imagination or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, he plays with that concept of reality, then maybe beating him over and over and over again is us succumbing to that, you know, that perception of him versus perception of reality. You know what I mean? It's that you can argue either way is basically all I'm getting at. I just did a really weird way to get to that. You can argue easily that it could be a bad thing.
Potentially it might interact with a conviction and doubt too, like maybe it's a good
Well,
thing if you had conviction and a bad thing if you had doubt. I don't know.
Right.
So speaking of conviction and doubt, the first choice we get to make as it pertains to conviction and doubt is whether or not we go to the police. So mechanical implications aside, because we don't fully know what this will do in the future, have you guys decided what to do in your respective campaigns? Are you role-playing it?
Yeah. Pretty much.
More or
Like
less,
Skids
yeah.
is
Or are you
Skids
just
isn't
being
going to
like-
go to the police station, for example. Someone else might.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've also
Would Daisy drag him there, though? She's a librarian, Ian. Librarians stand for everything that is
But she's scared.
I guess Skids won that argument, but I guess I do a combination of role playing and also just I want to have a broad experience. I'm trying to get like a good mix of conviction and doubt scenario campaigns and some that are doing a bit of both. I guess in a vacuum, I've seen enough horror movies not to go to the police, so they never believe you.
I think my favorite part, the part that really pushed me to understanding where this campaign's going to go, is once you made that choice, you read through the flavor text, and then there's just a bullet that says, "Did you really think the police were going to help you?" And not in flavor text font, but in like the recording your campaign log font. Like it's just a straight up, or do you think it was wise not to warn anyone?
That's when it's the game going, "You dummy.
Like,
Yeah,
Don't stop
I
being
read
a
that in
dummy,
Matt's
dummy."
voice, by the way.
yeah,
Of course.
like to me, that's
The police were going to help you.
the game's breaking the fourth wall. Like it just,
I love it.
Oh, it
I
was
love
so good when I was, and that's the part I was like, "Oh, screw you, Matt!" Like,
Well, and I love a healthy amount of snark in anything I do, so...
for just a single line of text, it does surprisingly make you doubt yourself too. You're like, wait, was that a good idea? I don't know anymore.
It was just like, did you think that was a choice, dummy?
And then you quickly go read the other resolution. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Do you think it was wise not to warn anyone? What you doing? What are we doing here, guys? That's
My
silly.
decision is to not make a decision. Just don't record anything.
So I think that brings us to kind of the gamut of resolutions and experiences. Guys, anything else you would kind of call out in particular for Curtain Call that we haven't discussed already?
If you think you have enough intellect pips, bring more.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So true.
It's kind of like a video game level. You just learn when the different enemies spawn where and just figure out your pattern,
Right.
basically. Is the best advice I can give.
Mm-hmm.
Go backstage first.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on to the Last King. And I guess I'm not familiar enough with the lore of Carcosa to know exactly what that's referencing. Is that referencing the Last King of Carcosa? Is that a thing?
I assume so.
From what I know, there's not even enough lore. I'm not.
To the lore episode!
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's probably like ambiguous. Like everything around Carcosa and the King in Yellow is ambiguous. So I think that, at least as far as I know, which granted isn't much. Someone else take over. I'm just digging myself a hole here.
No, I want to see how deep it goes. Let's go to China, baby.
Oh, we can keep going. I got plenty of ammo.
The Last King, I think, as a scenario, just kind of general thoughts here, I think it fits into the same kind of category as Midnight Masks and Undimensioned and Unseen. I have no idea what we would call such a thing, but it's like, hey, here are X number of objectives that you're very unlikely to be able to complete. Go!
Yeah.
And then it's just a mad dash to try to get as much as you can before you're just so beat up that you have to resign.
Right. It's a race against the clock, really.
Sure, so it's like a
Shopping spree.
shopping spree scenario.
What a horrible shopping experience.
at Discount Broods on Main. So setting the thing up, I thought, okay, so when this thing was kind of like previewed, I was like, really, a dinner party? How the hell
I
are
was
we
so
gonna
excited.
how are we gonna do a dinner party? And I thought it did it pretty well. You know, the maniacs coming out of the woodwork would not make for great, cocktail conversation
And the roaches.
in the real world, but
The roaches, I was really excited for this one, and it executed it differently than what my crazy brain was going with, but I still really enjoyed it.
So setting up the campaign or the scenario, I think the setup is pretty cool. The locations are linked very interestingly. The courtyard, kind of being the hub of everything, still kind of punishes you for using it too much. Because it's got that discard. If you find an enemy, it engages you. And do all of the lunatic. All the lunatics have a when engage effect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so.
So that's cool.
And they also know when you go in the courtyard because that's their cue to float to the top of the encounter deck.
Oh, yeah.
They sure are good at it. I can't wait for the scenario in the eventually. I'm calling this now. Eventually, we are going to get a player card that injects an enemy or an encounter card into the encounter deck. And this scenario is going to find it every time. Just calling it now. Anyway, so I don't have as clear cut a like approach to this one as I do for Curtain Call. How about you guys? Like, I know Curtain Call, I'm like, go backstage, figure your crap out, address the men in the mask, go out to the lobby, run the hell out. Like, that's Curtain Call.
Yeah. It depends.
This one, I feel like it depends way more on your investigator and where the different bystanders end up, right?
Yep, for sure.
And I also think what your starting hand is. I mean, if you draw 2 caches, you go to Jordan Perry first, right? Like, I have a massive resources, walk over and be like, hey, I'm rich. And then...
Well, you should be mulliganing hard for those fine clothes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not really a set pattern like Curtain Call because you can't control like who's gonna turn into a monster when. So you
you can. It's the one you're currently in.
Yeah, that's
you just
the
go
truth.
into that location. That's what does it.
Yeah.
Every
good point.
frickin' time.
No doubt. Like, seriously. And it's always the first one. It's not like the second or third one where I've already kind of made some ground up. It's like, I'm chipping away at this first one because I'm not fully set up yet. Boom. Sickening reality.
Yeah, so it is a speed race, and you really, in general, I'm just trying to get as many as I can before Act 3, I believe, is when they start turning. Is that correct? Or is that Act 2 that starts turning? Anyway, after the second time that Doom advances. So it's really just the speed game at first. So compared to other scenarios, I will hold off on setting up some of those key cards and just focus more on just getting into those parlay tests as quickly as possible. So it's just looking at my hand, what's going to help me with that parlay test, what's just like the baseline. Maybe I need one weapon, but other than that, I'm just going to it and playing a bit of a risky game and not getting my full setup going, but it's kind of what you have to do.
Yeah, so this is like Arkham Speed Dating Edition. I've not played this in more than 2 players. Has anyone here done that? My question is the stacking of clues, because he gets 1 plus 1 per investigator, each of the bystanders. Does that really slow things down?
I've heard that in 4-player, the hostess matters a lot more. Diane Divine, because she will actually like block quite a few, like, you know, like I felt like in solo sometimes I'd be able to I'd be able to parlay them in 1 turn, so I just basically get to where she's not and just set myself up and just like parlay play. But yeah, in 4-player it's a lot harder to manage her, and that could be a big aspect of the scenario.
Oh, and Diane is just a mischievous partygoer. Constance is the host.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Constance
Hostess.
Dumaine.
Yes.
Diane is presumably involved in whatever cult stuff is going on, I would assume.
She actually she reminds me intensely of, like, she looks like she should be one of the cultists in Midnight Masks, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Just art-wise. She looks like she'd fit right in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't found her to be too much of a threat. I mean, outside of the first time she pops out and is like, oh, well, there was 1 clue left on this dude. I guess I'm not here anymore. But then as soon as you clear someone, then she just kind of camps.
Yeah.
At least if I'm playing her right, then she just kind of camps on that one with no clues.
Mm-hmm.
And until that one turns monster.
Pretty much.
It's kind of a non-issue.
Yeah.
And I mean, worst case scenario, like, if you have a pretty set up guardian, at some point you can just wallop her. Like,
That's true. And she does. The thing is, she does no damage or horror. So, you know, in a moment of desperation in multiplayer, someone could hop in there, engage her, walk out,
Yeah.
and then you don't have to worry about her again until the enemy phase.
I thought that was a really cool, like, when I played 2-player, because we did that once. I was like, oh, I can just chat her up and walk her
just
over here.
distract her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good mega. I just love the whole flavor of this scenario that it does. This one also gets that creepy feel because it's a party that's not right, but no one there is acknowledging it. So it kind of makes sense that you're like getting in a knife fight with a maniac and all the other party goers are just kind of calmly eating their hors d'oeuvres or whatever, not even noticing.
Well, and like you're not sure what you're seeing either because you're still going around talking to these bystanders. So you would think at a certain point everyone would just be like, let's leave. But you're kind of working through it to get that info.
Yeah. To me, this one takes I love Midnight Mass still, but this one takes the cake just because the transformation thing is so cool in my book that they each transform into a different kind of monster, which kind of has to do with like the person they are, and they have different abilities and stats.
Who's the worst in your guys' mind?
Oh, I think it's the costume maker. I have to pull up her stats. It's something ungodly, like 6 fight, isn't it?
6 fight, 4 health, 3 agility, hunter. Forced after you deal damage to Ishimaru Haruko by an effect other than an attack. draw the top card of the encounter deck.
So
So
Haruko is real rough.
super hard to fight and punishes you for cheesing out the fight.
Now, point of interest: if you deal the killing blow to her with direct damage, that doesn't hit you, right? Or is it when it's dealt? Is it when it's assigned? Like when
It says it's
Scott.
Yeah.
after you
I gotta read it.
because it says after you deal damage. I would assume that it wouldn't trigger because the damage would hit her, kill her, and then that effect is on table to trigger after the damage is dealt. So
Well, is her dying simultaneous with the damage being dealt, or is it like assigned? Like, I know this gets real nitty gritty in these.
I'm
games.
just trying to. What's her opposite side called? Sorry, I'm just trying to find it on Arkham DB here.
sickening reality, just like all the rest of them. Hang on, I'll post it in Discord. Here.
Okay. I have to read it and then I can.
There it is.
Well, I hope so, because I have to put a really big asterisk on one of my campaigns if not, because she was about to kill someone.
I think the killing blow would not trigger that because once it's
That's how I've been doing
once
it.
it's or no is oh geez dealing.
Great.
No, it is okay because there's assigning damage and then dealing damage. Oh god, I'm getting conquest mixed up here. I don't think that the killing blow would trigger that because it's after, whereas something like guard dog can do its when it would be, so the killing blow you can still trigger. So yeah, and Mr. Trench is saying sounds like the spheres, similar to the spheres. Like if the last hit is with a melee weapon, they don't eat the melee weapon. So I think the last killing blow would not trigger her.
Okay.
Yeah, but
So there's that at least.
she is totally
But
the
you gotta
card.
weaken her up to the point.
Like her card should just say when she flips, like get boned, right? Like it's
Yeah.
oh man.
Thankfully,
Yeah.
she's only dealing 1 and 1, but oh man, she deals
Still.
lots of 1s and 1s and 1s because she's hard to
Yeah. Is this worth expose weaknessing on?
No, I will not. I refuse to run that card.
If her health were a little lower, then I would say
I'm
yes.
digging through the
You gotta
card
hit
graveyard right now.
No, Ian, you still got to hit that intellect test, and now that intellect test is a frickin' 6. No, that card is terrible.
Yeah, you're right.
That card is the spokiest of the bike spokes until it gets errata, which it won't. So it's fine.
The worst is if this is the first transformation, which has happened in one of my campaigns, which is just like, oh.
Oh, because then you just get gridlocked down
Yep.
and dealing with
Yep.
her.
Yeah.
This is the one I was actually referring to, where I literally had 1 clue left on her, and that agenda advanced. And she was the first one I was addressing, so it's like, hey, 1 in 6 chance, 5 chance,
Right.
1 in 5 chance. Of course, it's Haruko. So yeah. Anyway, cool design. I agree. I love the design of the monsters and how they all feel different.
Yeah.
What else?
Is it Constance that just gets massive amounts of fight when you try to evade her, and then she's got a buttload of health?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, she's a 4/6/1 that gets +3 fight when she's evaded or when she's exhausted.
Oh, gross.
The descriptions of the transformations are so amazing
Oh.
too. Just like they really nailed
No
the
thanks.
atmosphere so much.
They did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this one is also different in Midnight Mass in that we don't have a good sense of like what this stuff means, and there's 2 factors, like you're tracking interviews and how many you kill, and we don't know what those, like in Midnight Mass, even if you played it the first time, I think you kind of got the sense like, oh, I just need to deal with them, you know, like as many as
Right.
possible. This one, it's like, is it good that I didn't kill a lot of them? Should I have killed more? Like,
Right.
it's hard to figure out.
Well, and these all have victory 0, so as soon as it hits the victory display, you're like, yeah.
Yep.
Although I do like that victory or experience in this scenario is like so variable. So if you just go like ham on cloovering, or sleuthing if you prefer, it will reward you for it.
Mm-hmm.
Or punish you if you get too aggressive. And that is the second part of Skids and Daisy's story.
Uh-oh.
Which is a story of my hubris. And I could have gotten off with 3 people interviewed and 1 people killed, which I think is decent. And I decided to push it, and they both got knocked out. So I got to see that resolution before this episode.
Is it even conceivably possible to get through this without anyone turning?
I think
How many turns? How many do you have? Like, if you get the best draw,
Rex,
every
maybe?
encounter card that you draw whiffs. and you're playing Rex in solo. Oh wait, no, hang on. These aren't just straight investigate tests, so that's not as helpful. It's not possible.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I think
these are just parleys.
I think it would be possible if you'd like investigate somebody, get them cleared off, and then they would flip, so you'd be able to run around and get each person while your other teammates are, I don't know, fighting them.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Maybe. But from what I've heard in our chat and stuff, 3 interviews is about the average. Like, if you're doing 3, that's pretty good. Like, that's a, you know, I don't know, a B+.
If we assume the interviews are good things.
Right, sorry.
maybe killing them is really what we should be aiming for.
Yeah.
And again, that might be tied into conviction and doubt, which I just realized right now, which would be bad for a lot of my campaigns.
Oh my god, the potential energy that this campaign has. I've never been more excited for a Mythos pack.
It's really cool that the good resolution and the bad resolutions are pretty much only defined with like now you can only define them by did we survive, you know? Because then it's like you can't like you're saying, interviewing could be good, beating up the people could be good. We have no idea at this point, and it's so hard to pin that down, and that is very exciting.
Yeah, I was chatting about this one lightly without spoilers to my sister and her boyfriend because we're about to finish Dunwich and kind of hop in here. So I was kind of like, hey, yeah, I was telling them, yeah, it's a dinner party and you're going about this sort of thing. And they're like, well, how'd you do? And I felt like I just had to throw up that ASCII emoticon, the shrug, because
yeah,
just like we have no idea what's good, what's bad. Like I kind of have preconceptions, but Matt's been pretty good about subverting those so far. So,
how'd you do? Yep.
Yeah, pretty much.
The scenario ended.
So 3 is pretty good. Okay, so that definitely correlates with my experience. I've had a couple bad ones, but 3 seems okay. I'm trying to think what else. Like, I just don't even know on strategy on this one. I think this one's so variable on what it can give you from the encounter deck and what you have going on and where the different bystanders are. And like, I don't think there's one specific strategy. I think this one is just a ton of board reading.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there is the key thing of like that you can't. It's not just straight investigating. At least to start off, you are doing these parlay actions, so it's just like will and intellect icons. You just need a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. I think too, like you said, Sean, it's a board read. So like after your hand is drawn, you've started the scenario, you're good to go. You take 5 minutes and maybe look at what you got in your hand, map out your route. Who can I conceivably actually parlay successfully? Don't just go to the nearest one. Mm-hmm. And look like, okay, in 2 to 3 turns I should be able to get him, and then I'm halfway to getting that guy, and yeah.
Is it the gallery that makes you test willpower when you end your turn there, and if you fail, take a horror? It's like the only one that's like bad.
There's one that makes you put your clue back if you fail a will test.
That's the one.
Yeah, that's the gallery. You test 2 willpower.
And I feel like the ballroom, living room, and dining room they all reward you for doing parlay, right? One lets you draw a card, one lets you get a couple resources.
Yeah, it's only after you perform them. I don't even think you have to succeed them.
No, you don't even have to succeed.
It is a group limit once per game, or a group limit once per phase, sorry. So
yeah, the resource one can actually help you reach that 10 resources for Jordan, so that's something to keep in mind too.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like if you're setting your sights on him, then maybe we go and camp out in the ballroom and try to deal with whoever's there first, and that kind of sets you in a position to go handle him.
Mm-hmm. I at one point in my campaign, I had interviewed 3. I was like, oh, I'm doing pretty good, and one was the singer that was left, where he takes the 2 actions, and I was like, okay, him or her and the guy you need $10 for. And I was like, well, I only have $2 right now. And I was like, I spent two full turns, just like 3 resources, and then I go over to him, and then he flipped, and I was like, oh. And then it was just like a run for the door. But
what are you guys netting for average experience on this one? I'm gonna have to look at my campaign log here. I'm not even sure. I don't remember.
Goodness, yeah, I cannot.
Let's take a peeky peek. I feel like the fact that you just get experience for clues helps a lot.
I want to say 5.
Yeah, I think we got 4 or 5 when my wife and I
so
played.
my face check was 5. Because I got 7 with Safina and Yorick somehow.
Thanks, Delve.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. That was,
And bury them
how.
deep, possibly.
Oh, and Minkachi did not get that far.
Mm.
I started that, and I think then we started prepping for our Iron Man run through, so I disassembled those.
You had a great time, shut up.
No, I did. Just thinking about the prep.
Well, you did choose
was
Lola. Like,
It was worth it.
No, I mean like the. We'll get to it. I'll save it for later.
All right, so yeah,
It's also worth noting that the encounter deck, both in Curtain Call and in this, is just so location control-y. Just like not necessarily locking down locations, but it really influences where you're moving and what you're doing at locations. On top of a scenario like Last King, where you're already kind of like almost at critical mass for things you have to try and take care of. So this scenario, I haven't played it 4-player, but I can see how this scenario in 4-player can just become like pull your hair out crazy.
Oh, especially because you've got those ones where like one person will pull the encounter card, and all of a sudden everyone has to spend extra actions to parlay.
Mm-hmm.
Like anytime we have a scalar like that hits the whole board, that's when multiplayer is going to become. I don't want to say unfun, but
unfun.
Getting in a position where it could be unfun should you draw the right cards,
Or the wrong cards.
which is easy to do in multiplayer.
So I have a couple of lessons to be learned from Skids and Daisy. The first from Skids is pay attention to, like, if you're getting close to going insane, don't be on a person who could potentially turn. That was a play mistake on my part. I was getting close to the end. He was about to drop a I'm out of here once he got the last person he was trying to interview, but of course that person turned and drove him insane. And the other is pay attention to those maniacs and take care of them. They are the ones who, when they engage you, they deal damage both to themselves and the other person, which is, I've actually used that to kill them. But in this case, I left that maniac around and invaded them earlier, and they were on the exit point. And so Daisy basically had 1 damage to go before losing, and the maniac was camped there, so basically as soon as she moved there she would die, so she was basically trapped and prevented from escaping.
Ugh, that's fun.
yeah this
Okay, so wrapping this I'm sorry, go ahead, Ian.
oh
You had a second more knowledge to be gained from
well, it was actually just one particular encounter card I wanted to shout out, which is, I think, is one of my favorite that's existed, which is Fine Dining, which is a picture of like these weird looking hors d'oeuvres on a plate. And it gives you the choice to either place one of your clues on a bystander asset or take 1 horror and 1 damage. So I love that it's this thing you can either like eat it in front of the person you're talking to and you take the damage from it, or you refuse and then you're going to make the person suspicious and they don't want to talk to you. So
oh my god, when you get offered food at a party, that is real life peril. Okay, so talking about resolution on this bad boy, I mean, it's really just a matter of A, do you feel confident with what you got? Can you resign? And B, can you actually resign
Right.
before you get out? So I think really there's not a whole lot by way of difference in the resolutions. There's the you get defeated. There's the you stay there too long. But the real one, I think, that the choice that comes out of it is under the interlude, the Lunacy's Reward, where you can either go back and investigate the house, block the door and just get out, or you can torch the thing.
Yep.
Option C.
Memories of the Gathering?
Team burn it down.
I have burned it down every single time.
The one time that I played this through to completion was with my wife, and I let her choose, and she was like, well, let's go back in and see what happened. And then, yeah, we got the the campaign note that was, "Why'd you go back in, dummy? Like, did you expect it? What did you expect?" I was like, "Oh, that's
It's
sad."
interesting that they gave us a choice that doesn't give us a doubt or a conviction, right? They actually gave us a
Right.
third path.
Mm-hmm. I like the again breaking the fourth wall, like you said, Nick. The why would you go back inside? And then that door isn't going to stop them. But my favorite is,
Yeah.
you did what had to be done, right? You just killed people.
Yeah.
Add all the VIPs to the VIPs slain.
Yeah.
Campaign.
And that's the one I picked for my Daisy solo face check one. And I can just imagine like a frantic librarian like boarding up the thing, like tossing gasoline everywhere, throwing a match and just running away. I did what I had to do.
How do you guys...
You did my best.
So, and I had to read this like 3 or 4 times, and I still feel like I got it wrong, and that just speaks to how this scenario or how this campaign kind of plays with you. But, so you finish the scenario, and it alters the Chaos Bag makeup by taking out tokens and adding in tokens, and then you do the interlude immediately afterwards, and that immediately changes the Chaos Bag setup again. So it's like, why did I have to change the tokens at the end of Last King if I'm just changing them again during the interlude? Now, is that actually how it is? Did I read it correctly the 3 or 4 times I read it? Or
Resolution 1...
Sadly, you did not.
Resolution 1 doesn't change the bag.
And that's what leads you to the interlude. If you get resolution 2 or 3, you skip the interlude.
Oh, all right, I see.
Yeah.
Don't mind me.
No, but yeah, I'll be interested to see. I'm waiting to kind of tender my full opinion on the Chaos Bag mechanic in this campaign till the campaign is completed, but I don't even want to say like I'm doubtful that I'm gonna like it, because I don't know. When you get the bad random act in Curtain Call, yes, that's a bad time in The Last King, but hopefully then you rebound and get something nicer for the next one. So I don't know.
So you can say that Curtain Call is giving Sean 1 conviction, and The Last King is giving Sean 1 doubt.
That is how it generally goes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've generally kind of role-played or kind of alter the decision based on whether I want doubt or conviction, but my face check was definitely conviction, because after seeing all those transformations, of course I was going to burn the thing down. Like, what else are you going to do? But once it said add everyone to the VIP, add them all to the slain list, then I got this sinking
that made
feeling.
It real, didn't it?
I was like,
that's rough.
like, they never give you something for free. Like, what does this mean? So,
Well, you're just like, dude, I actually just killed someone.
yeah.
Like, that made it so real for me.
Yeah, because then I was like, what if I was just imagining it all and I just torched some normal dinner party?
Mark 1 doubt in your campaign
Yep.
log.
I love if, because you burned them down, they come back a la Devourer Below at some point, and it's like, Ashley Clark, but on fire.
Attach the on fire treachery to each each.
And it's just
lunatic,
like, it's like +2 fight, +2 health, +2 agility, and like +2 health and sanity.
+2 health?
Okay, maybe -1 health.
Sebastian, but with adamantium claws.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Like, they're just really pissed off. Like, they're weird beasts. Maybe they're not affected by fire. But anyways, that'd be great. I'd love if we didn't actually kill them. We just pissed them all off.
Oh God, I wouldn't put it past the realm of feasibility. So, any final thoughts on the Path to Carcosa as a box? Because I know we talked investigators last time. So, Scott and Nick, if you had any burning points you wanted to add there, go ahead. Or if you wanted to say anything about the campaign experience, the scenario experience, rather.
One thing I really liked was the hidden cards. Even playing alone, like, it was kind of neat, but I can see playing in a 4-player group, and you're just like, someone's like, oh, hey, can you do this? And you're like, no. Well, why not? You said you could last turn.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. But
It's, the hidden cards are so tricky to me, because it's like when we first saw them, we're like, oh, that's cool. But then every game I've played, other than like the first time we got them, and even the first time that we played, like when my wife and I played and we get them, the first time it's like, oh, cool, but then the second time it's just like, oh no, we totally don't obey the tabletop rules, and it's like, I got this one, I just gotta get rid of it, so I'm just doing this. It's like, it didn't affect the actual play experience as much as I was hoping, and that even was the same for when we played a Carcosa scenario after Arkham Knights. It was just kind of like, nope, this is basically a basic weakness that I just have to spend 2 actions to get rid of. And that could just be the fact that I'm playing with the people I'm playing with, and I'm not playing with people who are a little more like newer to the game or newer to the mechanics and don't analyze everything and that sort of thing. But it didn't have that feeling. And that's why I'm hoping that we get new hidden cards in the future that do totally crazy stuff. But
I feel like the hidden cards require a little bit of buy-in on the part
Oh,
of the
yeah.
player.
You have to role play them a little bit.
I feel like in order for them... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, you got to role play them a little bit and, like, obey the tabletop rule. Because I totally agree, Nick. Like, I don't obey that rule ever.
right.
But with these cards, I did, and strictly. Like, and that's what made them a little bit more fun, I think.
Well, and see, to me, it'd be a little different if there was actual, like, consequence to the hidden cards, because currently all they do is they limit what you can do on your turn. But imagine if we had a hidden card that was, like, at the end of an investigator's turn, if they're at your location, they take 1 horror, and then it's like, then suddenly the whole idea, like, do I tell them or not, becomes more of an issue, whereas otherwise it's like, nah, I just can't commit cards. Sorry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's not so much of a consequence to it other than just investing the 2 actions, so...
That's fair.
From my experience.
Yeah, no, I think... I hope that they're just kind of setting us up. Like, these were the vanilla flavors. Just
Right,
use
that's
the
my hope.
mechanic of it. And that we'll get some curveballs later down the line. But anyway. Okay, any other thoughts before we wrap up Carcosa?
It's good. It's my favorite of the big boxes so far. So
Interesting.
And
Yeah, I can say that now, but that's only because I've played the first 2 scenarios of Dunwich Legacy like countless
18 million times.
so
approximately.
many times.
Yeah.
I could probably build those encounter decks from memory,
Yeah.
card by card.
I liked Act 1B of The Last King.
Yes.
If no one has seen that, please just go see it.
Just look at it next time you have it set up. Don't like go out of your way. I think it's
I'm on
better if you. I think no, don't you dare, Nick.
What? We're already spoiling everything else.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know, but someone might
Too
wander
late.
into our chat here. All right, well there it is. God damn it, Scott.
You
All
told
right,
Nick not to do it.
Damn it.
You're not my real
I'm a dad too. I should have seen that coming.
This is madness. This is Carcosa.
Yeah.
All right, well,
Amazing start. To
like
the
I said,
campaign.
yes, and I think it's such a cool start. There's so many questions that I want answered, and some that probably won't be. Hopefully, some that'll be explained in later Mythos packs. I'm very excited to see where this cycle goes. I feel like the Dunwich Legacy was very like, hey, here's a full Arkham Files campaign with all the standard issue Arkham Files accoutrement, and now we're playing around a little bit. Now
Right.
things are off. Now we're getting challenged. Now things that we thought the game would just kind of do and rules that would just be followed that we've taken for granted might be violated. So I'm very, very excited for the rest of the cycle to come out.
I feel like Dunwich
Yeah,
was
it
an
was-
action movie, and the Carcosa one feels more like one of those mindy movies like Memento or Fight Club, where you're like, wait,
For
what?
Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah. I haven't seen that movie. I have no idea what it's about, so
Oh.
I will watch it for you.
It's good. Yeah, it was really like, Night of the Zealot was pretty much like this is how you play the game. And then Dunwich was like, this is how you play a real campaign. And then Carcosa's like, all right, strap in, fucker. So it's, yeah.
Hold on to your
like
hat. Yeah.
I don't know. I like strap in fucker. No comma even.
Right. Oh, jeez. Is there a hyphen in there? Because that changes it.
There might be like an errant semicolon. I'm not quite sure where it goes.
Apostrophe. backslash.
For some reason, a tilde showed up. I'm not quite sure what's happening.
Hashtag fucker.
All right. So, let's move it on then. I think our next thing is Ian. I'm not sure if you prepared for this episode. We have no hotline calls to go through, but we do have a 5-star review.
To answer your question, no, I did not prepare anything, but
So that'll make it better.
sure, in theory.
And I'm sorry, I got it easy with Josh's review. This one's long.
Yeah, this is a really long. I'm not sure if I'm gonna. Apologies to Gimli, son of Glowin, because I'm not sure if I'm gonna get through this or not, but I'll do my best. Okay, so I'm supposed to do this one, apparently, in the voice of Gimli with a Citadel plate and 8 damage tokens. If you don't know what that means, then you didn't play Lord of the Rings LCG. But it's basically a very wounded and angry dwarf. Okay. On a side note, dwarf voices are, if I had a list of like voices I would not want to do, I think dwarf would be top of them. Top of the list.
Oh, that's so sad.
So I love that people are picking on me because I said I don't do voices, and then also picking the ones that I hate the most. Okay.
They sense the weakness.
Yeah. Yep. So if you want to get picked, that's what you say. If you don't want to get picked, then you just okay, I'm gonna stop delaying.
Rip that Band-Aid off.
Those are my delay tactics. Do you fear the powers of the Mythos? Would you like to control it? You have to toss me. I added that part in. Somehow I ended up more like Sean Connery, but that's okay.
I like it.
Would you not like to pull a tentacle on a shotgun bullet? Or not be one action short of winning? And let's not forget...
Now we're into Fozzie Bear.
or an elder sign and still failing the test. I think that's about the most I can do. Then Mythos Busters is for you. Another Sean Connery.
No, it's still going.
Your dwarf sounds a lot like the Warcraft PR.
Listening to this podcast may not improve your luck, but it will make you ridiculously sexy like Sean Connery. You can always rage and leave a 1-star review for the podcast. Mythos Busters contains great content and a solid release schedule. It's the best podcast ever created by far. Thank you, Gimli, son of Gloin.
Yeah, thanks.
And say hi to your dad for me.
I will. I was taking the Citadel plate on loan, so I have to give it back to him.
So wait, Gimli is the one that for each damage on him he gets more attack, right?
Yep.
And so he'd be just at a frenzy right now. I feel like this should be like
he'd have like.
Do you fear the
You didn't get that?
Mythos? Would you like to control it? Excuse me.
Jeez.
Well, everyone, I think we just heard Scott
Die.
volunteer for the next review.
Please, I've been wanting one.
I think everybody has except Ian.
And he's gotten the most.
Right?
All right, so let's move it on into a little bit of tentacle time. I feel like do we lead with Arkham Knights or do we end with Arkham Knights?
That's the question, isn't it?
Let's lead with Arkham Knights since it's a little bit unless Ian has to go.
That's a good question. Yeah, I guess I could do mine and then I could take off and you guys could do it.
Well, no, I don't want you to go. I just wanted to make sure you weren't up against like a timeline. Don't go, Ian. Don't go.
Okay, sure. I'll put some tea on then and listen to you guys.
And like ask questions and stuff, right? Like
don't tell me what to do.
Be the listener stand-in. There we go. So, Arkham Knights for us started probably a little bit earlier than it did for most because we take this shit seriously. Scott, when did you got in Wednesday
afternoon?
The week prior.
The week prior.
Yeah, Wednesday at like
just set up
noonish.
shop at
My
FOG.
plane landed. Yeah.
And it's always a pleasure to see you, of course. But oh man, it was so nice that we were, because you're like we met because you were a listener of Cardboard of the Rings and you reached out at Worlds because I said I'm going to be at Worlds. Let's play some Lord of the Rings, and you reached out, and we've been fast friends ever since.
Pretty much.
But ever since, like, we keep going to Worlds together, and we never play the same games. So, like, last year was fine because you had Conquest, and that was about it. So we just played Lord of the Rings the rest of the
and I played Game of Thrones, and I had a perfect record for 6 rounds, and then I won a game. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was nice to actually be focused on the same thing with you this time, as opposed to Worlds, where it's just like, oh god, when does Scott get out of his cut?
And
so I suppose it probably starts for everyone Thursday, probably, when we actually met up, because Nick showed up in the evening that day. Mm-hmm. You and I, as a matter of prep for our imminent Dunwich Iron Man campaign, we decided to do a core Iron Man campaign with the standalones.
Yes.
Ugh.
Yeah, so we played,
and that was fun. We met up with Kenji and Jonathan,
and Doma.
We played with. Yep.
Yeah, that was fun.
And that was a good time.
Mark and Rex, apparently they're a good team.
they do their respective things, and they do them well.
Yeah. Mark protect, but also attack.
He also attack. And I had forgotten how freaking long Rougarou takes foreplay.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah.
I love that scenario, but man, because we did kind of the standard progression where we went gathering, midnight masks, side quests, and busting into Rougarou. And I think though it was tempered by the fact that we had decided ahead of time, like, we don't care about getting monstrous transformation. We just want to kill this thing and move on.
Yeah.
Because Lady Esprit, it turns out, is real good for Mark.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Anything else to mention on the core campaign?
No, you know, I hadn't played it in a while because I'd been playing so much Dunwich. It was kind of nice to go back and play it with the side quests and stuff. And I mean, it was super social too. Like, we had tons of people coming up, and you know, Mr. Trench showed up, and then Nick, and like all these people saying hi, and like it kind of felt like the weekend was kind of starting, and it was cool to you know, people come by and just chit chat. So, and we
point where we actually timed out.
We destroyed Midnight Masks, like,
yes,
all the VPs on the locations, every single cultist, and 4 Delve Too Deeps.
So in Midnight Masks, we got all the cultists, 4 Delve Too Deeps. You even had time to identify the solution.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
So ultimately, we ended with R1 and 14 XP off of Midnight Masks.
Yeah. Like,
so juicy.
We gave it a pummeling. It was fantastic.
But that to me was the first time that I've truly metagamed that scenario, where it's like, okay, who have we seen so far? Where's this one likely to show up? Who needs to be there? And it was just like having 4 people to kind of flex and go where it was needed. It made a big difference.
Yeah, and like knowing who all the cultists are and where they spawn, like all that knowledge from playing it so often. And near the last few turns, we're like, okay, so how do we do this? And like there was one point where Kenji grabbed the cultist just by walking through and like basically kited her to the central location, and then everyone else dealt with it. Like it was fantastic. Like, oh, such a great game that day on Thursday. Anyways, that was just you and me. So
so Nick showed up.
Yay.
And the party started.
Oh yeah. Because then Wars got played.
Oh my god, that's right.
Casey blew my mind when he was like, "Did you bring Wars?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Do you want to play it?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like, that just blew my mind.
I was waiting for you to go change your pants.
No, you live with it.
Just wrote it out. So then the event proper got started, of course, the next day. We got the cool announcement of the novellas, which was new to us at the time. Matt had teased that he had a cool surprise for us the next day, but we had no idea what it was going to be. Definitely wouldn't have called it. So that was cool. We got to buy that straight away. I think I played something standalone with the new Jenny straight away. Oh, it was you.
Didn't you do Lab? Oh, I thought you did Labyrinths with the new Jenny.
No, who did I play in Labyrinths? Because I remember very distinctly that I pulled the new enemy weakness and it got stuck at the butt ass of the train where I couldn't get to it.
great.
So
I love the idea of a Dark Young. Like, you were just in that car. I love the idea of, like, you didn't notice the Dark Young in that car. Oh.
Excuse me, sir. Coming through. Watch your tentacle. So yeah, and then we played an epic round of Labyrinths. God, who did I play for that one? God, now I can't even remember.
Oh, you played. Was it Jenny?
Was it Jenny?
Because you gave
Jenny?
me a lone wolf. So who would have played lone wolf? Like, what deck would you?
Was it Jenny though?
It might have been Jenny. It might have been Jenny. Maybe I was just on a Jenny kick because I had a new card. That sounds like me.
Yeah, I think you specifically said you were going to use the new ones.
Yeah.
You were at the opposite end of the table, and I never got up because I never got a paradox thingy.
Yeah.
So
I actually did not use the replacement signature and weakness for Jenny in standalone because that's just silly pants.
Yeah.
True.
But yeah. So that went well. I thought we had a full 12-player group, didn't we? Or were we
11.
no.
The middle group had 3.
Oh, Sean, did your group have 4? I thought you only had 3.
Did we only have 3? It was me.
Was it Jenny?
Sorry, my memory is terrible, guys. You're gonna have to help me out with details here.
I'm pretty sure it was 3, 3, and 4.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Anyway, good times were had, and then we moved into Saturday. Oh, and Saturday is a day that will live in infamy.
Or did Saturday move into us?
Yeah. Hooey.
Valid question. So the long-awaited Dunwich Iron Man Legacy. Wow, that was not the right order of those words. Iron Man Dunwich Legacy run through started up. I was actually, having played the core campaign and not actually being able to finish before the FFG Center closed the day before. I was not the day before, a couple days before. I was really worried that we were just like super not going to be able to finish. I had 2 predictions.
Just going to time out.
Yeah, I had 2 predictions. One was we were just going to wipe ass on Essex County.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one was that we weren't going to finish. And I went 50% on the day, so I'm okay.
I think one thing that helped us was that because we were Iron Manning and there was a bunch of people, like a bunch of Iron Man groups, I think, like, I know for sure I was like, okay, you got your turn, okay, here's your encounter cards. Like, it was very... Whereas when we were doing the core campaign, we were like shooting the shit with people and we were taking breaks and like it was a super casual thing.
True.
Iron Man were like, let's power through
Iron
this.
Man.
Yeah.
Even though there was no competition between the groups, I would occasionally get up and look around and be like, oh, what scenario are you guys on? Oh, what scenario are you guys on? Oh,
totally.
We're like a scenario ahead. Oh, sweet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Especially after we wiped in Essex, I kept going around to the other tables.
my God,
I'm like,
yeah.
so how's the train going, guys?
Yeah.
What's what you doing over here?
Like, I think from setup to takedown, Essex was 15 minutes.
4-player.
Yeah.
Possibly including setup and takedown.
It was
Essex
it
in
was
multiplayer
ridiculous.
is a great example of Doom acceleration gone awry.
Well, and we
Because I think any scenario that has both Ancient Evils and the Cultist set, that's setting you up for a real rough time. And the fact that it then also locks you out of the locations where the Cultists will spawn.
yeah.
Oh, man, that was over real fast. It was over even faster than I would have predicted.
The encounter deck drew
Right.
the nuts, though. Like,
It did.
yeah, it was insane.
Well, and the fact is, with multiplayer, even with Rex, just like you need to power through those clues.
Yeah. Well, and then we got the
really
car
only
that's...
had 2 investigators that were set up to investigate quickly.
And we got the car...
Like, I wasn't set up to investigate at all as Mark, and then, I think Agnes took a while to find her right of seeking, so...
And we got the car that you had to spend money to get clues. You could investigate.
Yeah.
That was our second car.
So that shut down half of our board.
Yeah. It was like, okay, so Rex doesn't do Rex things. And then the next car was the 12
and Dark
clues.
Horse Lola.
Yeah.
And then that Wizard of the Order showed up, 2 cars down.
And it was
well,
just done.
I guess this is done then.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then me and Casey just...
I don't know. I like that scenario 1 to 2 player, but 4 player, I probably will not ever play it again.
Right.
Then me and Mr. Trent, we just drew cards hoping to get a delve too deep before the train car sucked us up.
just try to fire one off before we go, man. No, it didn't work. But aside from that, I thought the campaign went really, really well. So I played a really... Well, do you play anything else but a really fighty Mark?
That's all he does.
Yeah.
As Scott mentioned, you played a really Kluvery Rex.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, you played a pretty Kluvery Lola, though you had some flex cards in there.
Yeah, she started off really clue heavy, and then by about scenario 3, I was like, Rex has this on lockdown. Like, I don't need to be as clue focused as I was. So then I really started to explore some other strategies with her, and that's when I think I discovered, and I think we all kind of discover that Lola shines on scenarios like 3 through 6, because it's like then she has enough experience to where she can really play with those crazy combos, but she isn't yet getting outclassed by investigators who can go up to level 5. So once like scenario 7 and 8 hit, that's when I was just kind of like, well, just hang around. Like, hopefully my encounter card won't limit everyone else.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like you got boned by some circumstances in the later scenarios too.
Well, yeah, my setup on scenario 7 was garbage. Like, I will totally agree with that. Like, I did not get the cards I needed to for setup. And in scenario 8, I did have a pretty clutch moment where I took like 6 actions in one turn and just blew through everything.
Oh my god, when you were like, oh dude, it's happening, I've got the Lola Will to Survive Ace in the Hole combo coming up, and then the fucking encounter deck discarded random cards from your hand and pulled the Will to Survive.
Yeah,
I was
it sucked.
so sad for you.
I had improvisation, Will to Survive, and Ace in the Hole, and I was like, there's a 6-action turn that I don't have to pull any tokens for. And then, the very next card I draw from the encounter deck gets rid of Will to Survive, and it's like, well, fuck me. But, I mean, I still made Ace in the Hole work, so that was nice, but it wasn't the dream.
But, I mean, I'll be honest, when you said you were bringing Lola to this Iron Man thing, I was like, ooh, interesting choice. And but she performed admirably.
Yeah,
better than I expected, even as a Lola apologist.
I think I totally agree, Nick. Though with Lola, like I think for like scenario 1, obviously I think she's a bit below because she has to be so kind of scattered. But once you got a little bit of XP in there, like you said, like 3 through 6, and probably 3 through 7 if you hadn't had the crappiest setup ever. It would have been good, but by 7, 8, I think she hasn't gotten worse. It's just that everyone is max to the 9s, right? Like,
right.
It's at the point where the last scenario, I'm like, I have 2 XP left over, and I just switched some 0 XP cards because I didn't have anything else to upgrade. Like, it was a fully maxed out deck. Yeah, Lola impressed me. So did Mark, actually.
So did Mark impressed me.
Yeah.
Like I've played a lot of Mark. Like I want to say probably 90% of the Arkham that I've played in the past 3 weeks has been playing Mark.
Yeah.
Testing on my own, then testing on the core, then actually playing the Iron Man. So I've played, God, what is that, like 20 scenarios in a row or more with Mark. He's real good.
Yeah, especially in 4-player, I think. And
yes,
I'm going to posit something. This is crazy because I was thinking about this afterwards. 4-player through Dunwich with Mark. There were a number of times you were shooting at us, like shooting at enemies engaged with us without engaging, which was fine because I think sometimes it had to be done. Do you think
Nick, that bullet had your name on it? There wasn't anything I could do about it.
It did. You're right. I saw you writing my name on it and then firing it at my face.
So,
like, 2 damage isn't that big until it's a third of your health with Lola.
I didn't defeat you. You're fine, you baby.
You not for lack of trying.
So, what do you think of a single upgraded copy of Springfield in a 4-player Mark deck?
I think it's wasted experience.
You're probably right, but I'm just...
Because, remind me, Springfield is 3 XP?
Yes.
I think it's... I think you're right.
3 XP, 3 cost, 3 ammo, and you get plus 2 or 3 combat?
Maybe.
I'm just an idea, because if we're going to find a place for it, I think that's where it would be.
Oh, shit, it's 4 XP. Nope, full stop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 4 cost, 4 XP.
We were talking around about the Springfield, and there is some super secret Springfield tech that like a solo or 2-player Mark could take, and that's hiding spot.
No, but hiding spot makes them aloof, and then you can't attack them.
Oh, you're so right.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah.
God,
that's the problem. Is that like that aloof keyword shuts out this whole. Oh man, 4 cost, 4 experience. I mean, we already talked about this card.
God,
It's bad.
that's a garbage card.
Yeah.
Then again, we used to say the same thing about Knife, so...
No,
Challenge
Knife...
offered, Matt.
We kept saying that, at least I did, kept saying that I can see the potential for Knife, it's just that it didn't work. Like, it's just that we didn't have an investigator that could take advantage of it. Or a build, rather. But this could be the same, but the fact that, like, the first thing you think about is aloof with something like this. But no, that still doesn't work. I don't know.
It's literally, like, the only thing this does is it's an enemy that's already been evaded. Which, in that case, okay. Or you're firing at enemies engaged with other investigators, which, again, is cool. But then if you miss with this thing, like, Nick, I shot at you with my Colt. I hit you for 2.
Yes.
It hurt, I'm sure.
It did.
If I hit you for 3, you'd be complaining a little bit harder.
The emotional hurt was more, though, right, Nick, than the physical?
It was a morale hit, because then every time he's like, I'm not going to engage it, I'm like, are you serious? Like, I'm holding the bloody, like, wound as he's shooting at me again. Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear Nick.
I can hear Nick as well.
Sean, can you hear us?
Yay! Of course, the guy that I'm arguing against can't hear me.
Damn it, Sean's router.
Strikes again. Oh no, he fell off the map.
But yeah, no, that's potentially true. Like, if he did hit me for 3, I would feel worse about it. But, I'm still getting hit by another player. So.
Should have had that blackjack.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, I should have just had that blackjack. Oh, man.
Okay, fair. Well,
No, it's still bad. Blackjack and Springfield belong in the same garbage.
They're in the same garbage
Skids?
pile.
Oh, sorry.
No.
I would let
to the
Skids
same
take
bike.
the Springfield.
Sorry, you said garbage tier, and I just... I think rogue. I don't know.
Aw.
Sorry, Ian.
I'll fight you.
Anyway, so ultimately, I thought the campaign went really well. Matt came over and said, "Well, why aren't you guys playing on hard at some point?" But I don't think that was the point. I think we wanted to kind of exercise for ourselves what, for I guess, coordinated, well-tuned, tested decks can do against standard.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know what? If we were ever to take those 4 investigators up again, I would opt to play on hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
But the fact that we smashed it, just like the whole point was just to exercise, to show that if you metagame, if you plan, if you play good decks, you can smash this campaign.
And that was my whole idea when I
Which we
suggested the Iron Man, is the Iron Man part is the length of the gaming it takes, because it was 11-ish hours of sitting down and playing the same game. It wasn't the difficulty. The difficulty was the length of the game. But I would do it again.
I was just going to say, like, I want this to be a recurring thing. Maybe we don't have to do it on Saturday every time, because that runs up against Tentacale time, and that, if we ever have a long campaign, that might be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely want to do Iron Man again next year.
I'm very excited. It was more popular than I expected it to be, and I'm excited for us to explore it as a Mythos Busters event, like as in a more official stance for like next year. So my wheels are turning about that. So
yeah, we'll be doing some cool things for next year now that we know.
Yes.
Seriously, this was Scott after he decided that he was doing Arkham Knights rather than Worlds this year. Was just like, hey, anyone want to do Iron Man? And then a couple people in the chat, Casey and I think it was Star King, who eventually was not able to make it, were just like, yeah. So we started this separate chat, and it's just been percolating. And it started as just like this offhanded thing, like, hey, Scott wants to do this.
Yeah.
And we ended up with, did we end up with 4 tables, or was it just
4
3?
tables,
4,
3
but
finished.
1 quit early.
That's right.
And I totally missed the entire conversation on setting up the Iron Man until like weeks away from Arkham Knights. So I'm actually glad that Star King wasn't able to make it, because that allowed me to get in on this group and do that. So I mean, I would have found another group anyway, but still.
We'll see you next year, buddy. You can make it, I promise.
But yeah,
So, yeah,
I think we're gonna expand on that. So
Yes. So if Arkham Knights is something that you're middling on, but playing through an Iron Man Carcosa next year sounds fun. No, that will be an option. We'll be there doing that.
And with the pacing of how the campaigns are being released, eventually we're going to get to a point where we'll have 2 complete campaigns in between
Oh God.
an Arkham Knights. So you'll have to do Iron Man Friday and Saturday. 2
my
campaigns.
God.
Oh, well, that's a no. That's a hard no.
Well,
Check out Arkham Knights 2020.
Yeah.
Here we go.
then Nick, you're off my team.
Okay, it's a soft no.
But I don't know. I thought the whole campaign was really fun. I really liked as just someone who enjoys building decks and exploring deck space, I really liked the ability to just build this mark in a way that it's just like I care about nothing else except for killing enemies, and that's what I do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you took those spheres off of me 3 turns in a row.
God damn it, the spheres. There's 2 of them in the deck. I killed 2. We shuffle the discard pile in. Next card off. Like, freaking Lola pulls another spheres. I'm like, come on, man.
3 turns in a row, conglomeration of spheres. I think that's the worst luck I've ever had.
how did you guys handle the XP? Did you just bring all your XP cards for that investigator, or did you have it planned out in advance?
I did. Basically, the card pool's small enough at this point that I could fit all of Mark's possibles
Right.
into, a fourth of a deck box. So it was not that hard.
Yeah, because I was thinking...
And I brought a deck box. I brought a deck box full of only XP cards for Lola.
Okay.
Yeah, that was fun. Nick and I were at my place on Friday night, and I'm just pulling out my Guardian cards and my neutrals, and Nick's like, okay, do I take just the ones I think I want? Do I bring them all with me? I'm taking 2 adaptables, so this could be. I should just bring my
Yeah,
box.
that's right. I basically took half of the level 0s for my 3 core classes, and I took a couple of level 0s from Guardian and Mystic, just in case! And then I
sat there agonizing over what you should bring for a very long time.
Because I was like, if I need this and I don't have it, it's going to be terrible! So
Yeah, I was thinking of 5 years from now how that would work, but I guess we'll get to that.
yeah, that's going to be... I won't play Lola
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
Or maybe I will.
One thing too, Mr. Trent just brought this up in chat. If you are going to do the Iron Man, it helps a lot when you have all the scenarios pre-built. So
yes.
I had all mine pre-built. I used some proxy cards because I'm not buying 8 cores. Sorry. But just to be able to grab the deck, put it out. When we're done, I just scoop up all the cards, kind of put them I'll figure this out later. Kind of put them in a semblance of an order, throw them back in the box. Set up for most scenarios.
Our downtime between scenarios was
Minimal. Yeah.
The pre-built, and I'm playing Rex. I'm I know how to upgrade Rex. You just buy all the yellow cards. It's not very hard. So I could upgrade my Rex in about 30 seconds and then just throw the scenario down. And yeah, keeping the momentum going, it was just no downtime. Boom, boom, boom. So that was really, the pre-building the scenarios.
Pro tip.
Yeah. And you know what? I think for other groups, if someone doesn't have them all pre-built, maybe talk amongst yourselves and be like, hey, I'll bring scenarios 1 and 2, you bring 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So that you have them all built. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, we'll rely on you next year again, probably.
Yeah.
But...
that's my plan going forward. That's how I'm building all my scenarios. So, but...
Excellent. And then, of course, after that, we went to Tentacale Time 2 over at Joe Sensors. And you know what? Scott, I think you might back me up here. They still did not have the fabled pizza rolls.
They did not.
Even though I was holding out hope. And I can't remember what it was called, but it was basically
Garlic ring?
Yeah, it was a big croissant-like dough filled with cheese and garlic and onions, and then you dip it in pizza sauce. And you know what? It worked for me. I don't know if it was as good as the pizza rolls, but I don't know that anything could be.
Pizza rolls is Usain Bolt level of amazing. And this thing was Donovan Bailey? I don't know. Is that a sprinter guy?
Wow.
It was
We're whipping out the niche references. I'm sure I've heard the names before.
They're sprinters.
I know who Usain Bolt is.
Okay. Donovan Bailey at one time was the fastest man in the world. But
Oh, there you go.
I thought Scott was saying, it's like you saying Bolt. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
Bolt!
pizza rolls.
Yeah,
pizza rolls 10 out of 10.
Pizza rolls. Bolt!
This garlic ring thing 9 out of 10.
Yes. Yes, it was very, very good. And we got the chance to hang out with some cool peeps, of course. Everyone who came out was much appreciated. We played some Cobra Paw,
Nice.
which I love. And what else did we crack out?
What was it?
Deception. We had
Deception.
an
We played a
insane
big
game
old
of Deception.
Deception.
which I totally didn't understand the rules, and it totally
That was obvious.
Well, you were like 3/4 in the bag at that point.
right, but
so-
I didn't realize that
That was obvious
that
too.
the what do you get, the murder weapon and the reason? What?
Yeah, just it was cause of death and evidence
Right.
are the two card types.
But I didn't realize that, like, if the person who's the murderer, both of those cards will be in front. I thought they could choose from, like, any evidence and any cause of death or whatever. So I thought I had to look at every single card on the table.
Oh, you didn't know that it had to be among their cards.
Yeah, I didn't realize that they both had to be within the
that's a pretty
same
key piece.
tableau. Yeah, and that's why I was like, how do you play this game? Like, this seems ridiculous. But, yeah.
But yeah, that's a good party game. That remains one of my favorites for larger groups. Though I do like Josh led that one, and thanks to him for kind of taking charge of that and doing it, because I didn't have the energy at that point. But I do like our variant better, Nick, where instead of like reasoned turns for debate and explanation, we all just scream over each other.
That would work a lot better with like 6 or 7 players, because with 12, oof.
And it has to be people you kind of know a little bit better,
yeah.
I feel.
Oh,
But anyway, it was a good time. So Sunday was kind of a downtime type day. I think we just kind of free gamed for the most part, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
I played...
Yeah.
Free.
What game did we play? Eldritch Horror? No.
Yes, we played
Yes.
Eldritch Horror
That was my...
on my swanky ass new playmat.
Oh, yeah. You're like 6 foot by 6 foot playmat.
It's 4x4,
Okay.
but yeah, it's big enough that it doesn't fit on my pretty large dining room table.
That's amazing.
Well, and you guys are missing the important fact that Matt Newman played my Frozen Tracks scenario, so he finally got to see how to properly do a train scenario. Yeah! No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, you know what? Your scenario has that cultist thing in there too, okay? So just chill your shit.
But did it feel as bad?
You know what's funny about that scenario?
What's funny about that scenario?
Every time I play it, I want to argue that it felt as bad, but every time I play it, we're actually able to finish. So it just feels different.
It's totally different when suddenly you can move between the cars willy-nilly.
Yeah, when you're not locked out of the thing that's about to end the scenario, it turns out it's pretty operable. Matt's never
Sorry,
gonna
guys.
speak to
I'm
you.
very proud of Frozen Tracks.
The next train scenario
Less so
is
about
just going to have
Stranded.
an NPC named Nick on the tracks, and you cannot save them.
Helpless passengers spawn on the tracks, yeah. Oh, man. I've actually decided that my campaign is going to be entirely train scenarios, so look forward to that.
It's just the Siberian Express.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, what's that called? Siberian...
I don't
The
know.
train that goes all the way through Russia. It's the longest train track in the world. Come on.
The
Someone help me.
Polar Express.
Oh, close enough.
Sounds legit.
So yeah, it was a really great weekend. I thought it went exceedingly well. I was actually a little surprised that it didn't sell out sooner than it did, but I suppose last year was kind of an outlier because the LCG
'Cause
was
of release,
releasing
yeah.
early, and that was a big thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so looking forward to next year. Ian?
Yes.
I want to get you there. next year.
Yeah.
We need to start talking about that. I got Nick to Gen Con. I can get you to Arkham Knight.
Sure. I'll have to plan it and see if I can make it happen.
No, see how this works is I plan it with your wife.
Okay.
Yeah, worked for me.
So I'll be contacting her soon.
As long as Brown Jenkin is there, then that's fine.
Oh yeah, speaking of Brown Jenkin,
He was our victory display.
He was. Lord Jenkin, saw us through the weekend. I'm kind of a believer now. The glorious religion of Jenkinism is it's kind of free form. You worship how you want, but yeah. He presided over our entire core campaign and the Dunwich campaign and saw us through to victory, so I can't say anything about him anymore.
He actually
that-
holds the cards quite well as a victory display.
He does.
Does so
Yeah.
many things so well. Does that mean your next song is going to be a redo of "I'm a Believer" but about Brown Jenkin instead?
Oh my god.
I can hear it now.
Don't tempt me. I don't need to kill another afternoon. I'll tell you what, guys. That song was and okay. So background: I started as a music production major, so I actually know how terrible that sounded from a technical standpoint. But I recorded that song with a Rock Band microphone on Audacity, so I'm a little proud of how not absolutely terrible it was. So yeah. Guys, anything else you wanted to mention for Arkham Knights? Any shout-outs or anything like that?
Thanks once again to everybody who played the 2 scenarios that I made and brought. The feedback was awesome, and a lot of it will be incorporated into some card reprints. So,
oh yeah, okay. Speaking of crazy cards, the Card Council. We completely skipped the Card Council on Friday.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That's a thing that happened. So Friday night, as part of the kind of prize giveaway, they raffled off 24 spots? 24 spots to go sit in on a Card Council for the Arkham LCG to kind of workshop and group design 2 cards. So the ones we got out of it, Casey, who was part of our Iron Man group, got to do that, and that's why we had 3 people for Labyrinths of Lunacy. Is Casey had to bail because he got called for that. All right, now the memories are coming back. So anyway, so the 2 cards we got out of it, one of them was a basic weakness that we get to add to the pool, and the other one was a neutral level 2 card. That was pretty cool. Does anyone have those handy? I'd have to dig a little bit.
As would I.
Yeah, I don't have handy.
I remember what they do.
All right, so here I'll get the weakness out if someone wants to go dig for the player card. The weakness was more accessible to me. So the whole thing is that these were designed as part of the group. They are in beta. So basically, what this means is they are now going to be tested through playtesters, I assume. But what was cool is they used their on facility printing, however they do their POD cards, to print copies for everyone who was in attendance the next day. So I thought that was pretty sweet. So the weakness. So what that ultimately means, I assume, though this isn't from the mouth of anyone official, I assume that we'll be seeing these cards released officially at some point in the future. So don't be bummed out that you missed, something crazy exclusive. The weakness we got is a basic weakness asset, null costed. It's called the 13th Vision.
Hey,
Subtitle.
Sean.
Yeah.
Real quick, I was just going to suggest, since we're kind of running long, and we do have copies of Arkham Knight swag to give away in the future, do we want to save this for when we actually address that giveaway? And just in an effort to keep this episode a little...
Well, we're going to give everyone kind of intellectual blue balls, but sure, that seems fine. I was literally reading the card when we pulled out.
I didn't realize it until Ian and Scott said what they had to say. So, and plus we're at the 2.5 hour mark. So,
oh, holy cow, we are. Okay, so yep, good call. That being said, should we skip regular tentacle time or can we keep it tight?
I think well, Ian, you say because you're the one who hasn't said much.
I'm down to... I don't have anything too pressing. I'm down to skip it, and I can also do mine in 30 seconds too, so either way.
30-second tentacle time. Go, Ian.
Okay, Mr. Robot Season 3 is on. You should watch it. I hyped the show in the past. It's all about an unreliable narrator and not knowing what's real, except for in a modern-day kind of hacker or cyberpunky setting, so check it out if you haven't watched it.
That show's amazing.
Scott.
Oh, it's so good. I love it.
Speaking of amazing shows, I just binge watched Ozark on Netflix with Jason Bateman or whatever. It is, as I've heard it described, Breaking Bad, but for accountants. It's amazing. Normal guy gets into crime. Shit goes awry. You should also watch that show. It's on Netflix only. That's it.
Nick?
I just wanted to say real quick that my solo podcast, the Novelcast, it has made its return. Its season 2 started a couple weeks ago. I'm currently narrating a book that is much longer than the one from season 1. So this podcast releases every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. A new chapter of a book that I wrote titled Cybersaurus: The Awakening. So tune into that podcast for an audiobook delivered 3 days a week.
God, I don't know if I can crunch either of mine into 30 seconds. So we'll start with I have picked up L5R begrudgingly. I'm going to mention this on the next Tentacle Time too because I have some things to say. But Scott and I played a game.
It happened.
FFG's throbbing design boner for control archetypes is going strong. Because what's more fun in a card game than not being able to play with your cards?
No, your opponent not being able to play with their cards. I got to play my cards.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. You were the Scorpion player, so that must have been fun for you.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
But who is the Scorpion King?
God. But the game itself is really solid. I do enjoy kind of the lessons they've obviously learned from Thrones and kind of what they've applied there. So even though the lore does almost nothing for me, I'm still looking forward to playing around with the game at least a little bit. And again, we'll get to this another time. I'm 3 cores in, begrudgingly, and we'll give the core scenario or the core environment a go before we decide whether we're going to keep collecting the game. But the core is pretty fun. The factions are all cool, and yeah. Unicorn and Dragon are where it's at for me, because I like to play cards. That's all.
Sorry, I thought we were keeping this to 30 seconds. Are you still rambling, or?
Like I said, I wasn't sure if I could do it, and I was right. So that wraps it up for this episode of Mythos Busters, guys. We'll see you next time.